in my state. So I assisted the quantity surveyor who was then in charge of his company, you know, in charge of cost estimation, cost valuation, and cost evaluations. You know, so I gathered a bit of experience working with them as an intern, because that's one thing again you have to intern. I believe in intern a lot, because if you do intern, that will stimulate your appetite and your skill and interest in everything. So doing that job as an intern, you know, sharpened my appetite and the skill to want to study it. So I eventually went to Yugoslavia to do to study quantity surveyor. I was there until the war broke out, you know. Anyway, so we lost it. I came back to Nigeria in 1987. Okay. And that's the beginning of Baywood Group.
Wow. Let's talk about Baywood Group after this break. We're going to take another break, and when we come back, Emperor Baywood is going to be telling us about the Baywood Group. What really happened? How did it start? You've really gotten some part of the story of it is not easy to make it in life, and he's made it. So the question is, are you ready? The CEO Bench brings you people who shares their story of where they have come from, where they are going. If they're on the top and they're coming down, what lessons do we pick from there? If they're down and going up, what lessons should we pick from them? What are the lessons that we can pick from there and we can use for ourselves? Stay right there. I'll be right back after this break. This is the CEO Bench.
There goes my soul, there goes my mind, all the beauty you could ever find. My motherland, oh my motherland, my motherland. Deep in the forest, across the land, I hear the calling, I understand. Like this song of my soul, how my story will unfold. I love Uganda. My motherland, oh my motherland. I feel the magic, I feel the peace on the savannas, the mountain peaks, like the great days of old, when the Nile overflowed, abundance across the land, and the people down hand in hand. Deep in the forest, across the land, I hear the calling, I understand. Like the song of my soul, how my story will unfold.
I want to take you to Mbale, and I want to take you to Ankole, and I want to take you to Uganda, and I want to take you to Busoga.
KCCA has taken a number of steps to address this sanitation challenge, which include, but not limited to the following: the setup,
Welcome to Slam Dunk Basketball Talk.
A wise man once said, "The future has a name, and its name is hope. A tiny flicker of light that feeds on hope is enough to shatter any shield of darkness." At Mandulus, we really believe.
Welcome back to the program. This is the CEO Bench. My name is Eddie Okila, and my guest on the program today is a philanthropist, an entrepreneur, a social activist, is the man who speaks life to youth, Emperor Baywood. Welcome back to the program.
Thank you.
Let's talk about Baywood. You had gambled your school fees already, and yes, through gambling. So we know that every child almost across the African continent has fallen trap of that story of we'll make you rich, we'll make you make some more money, give us your school fees. Now we all fall in that. But let's move past that and then go to the straight of what is Baywood and how did you come up with Baywood? Let's pick it up from there.
Okay, so thank you very much, Eddie. I'm glad to be here again. It's nice. I love what you're doing, and just keep it up.
Thank you.
First of all, my name is Chris Baywood. My middle name is Baywood.
Yeah.
Okay, the Baywood was derived from, again, my father, having worked in construction industry, worked with a couple of white guys, you know, as his colleagues, you know, from coal to construction. So he's a man with diverse view of everything. He did agro, you know, while he was doing farming. From farming, he went coal mining, he returned back to construction industry. And he grew from there until he retired, and then, of course, lived his life, and we took over from where he stopped, right? So Baywood is a name he gave to me because of relationship he had with some of his colleagues, you know, those days in working with Michelletti and co and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So I love the way the name resonates for me, you know what I'm saying? So when I decided to register a company, Baywood came very strong. And then the Continental, originally was Continental, Baywood Continental. Because my friend had a company called Gillis Continental. And I love the way it sounds. I like the vowel, Continental. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, yeah.
A lot of guys register companies in Nigeria and say,
Yeah.
so Nigerian Limited. You know, I'm a guy with different, I mean, I'm very stylish, you know, I do my thing.
Yeah.
People do so and
We
Sons.
can see it right now.
Yes,
Yeah.
you know, a lot of companies will say, oh, so and Sons Nigerian Limited, so and Sons West African Limited. And I said, no, I don't want all these names. They sound very archaic and local.
Yeah.
So let me go international. So I said, Baywood Continental. Can't you understand?
Yeah, I don't understand.
And
this,
there's always is something in the name.
Yeah.
This name, Baywood,
Yeah.
just that name
Yeah.
gave me a lot of mileage and leverage in doing my business.
Wow.
Yeah, I can tell you, yes. So Baywood was born, and Baywood was born to do every business, regardless of what, you know. You just want to do business, right?
Yeah.
So we did trading to, from trading to supermarket. I remember we ran a supermarket. We did trading from Japan, from China, no, not China, Hong Kong then, Thailand, bringing air conditioners, you know, refrigerators. Me and my wife, you know, my wife is, she comes from a background of, you know, business-oriented family. And her community, her state now is called Anambra State. And they are predominantly business people, right? And I tell you one thing about Anambra State, sorry. Anambra in Nigeria, that they have the largest concentration of per individual wealth in Nigeria.
Wow.
Yes, the largest concentration in the whole country per individual wealth. Almost everybody, one family has a wealthy person. They are also educated. Don't take it away from them. Yeah. The Ojukus of this world, the deeds of that world. You know, the Ojuku that led the Biafran War is from Anambra State. His father was one of the biggest moguls, pre-colonial. So, anyway, so a combination of myself and my wife, we did quite a lot, you know, very supportive woman, I can tell you. So from there, from trading to, you know, let's get to corporate. Yeah. And the Baywood was now born with a formal office, because that time we're just importing items from, you know, from Hong Kong, Thailand, UK, anything I go. So we're just importing and selling, from baby product to air conditioning, to refrigerators, to cars, to what have you. We did quite a lot of things, you know, trying to survive. And then, of course, from there, somebody said to me, but your brothers are in this industry.
Oil and gas.
Oil and gas. Go to them. What do you mean? Go to them. Take a cue from what they're doing. So I went to one of my cousins. I know who, big time, you know, big time. I'm telling you, big time. In those early days, they're already doing business of $30 million and above. Imagine, $30 million and above at that time?
Yeah.
My God. Just oppose it today. It's well over maybe $300 million, $400 million. That's it is.
Just a moment. So when did you incorporate Baywood? When did it come? 1989. So correct. The $30 million we're talking about, your brothers, was 1989.
Pre-1989, they're already doing business of over $30 million.
Proceed.
You know what I'm saying? Yeah. They were living large.
Yeah.
These guys were in charge.
Yeah.
Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So I went to my cousin and I said, listen, this is what I want to do. And we just signed an MOU to use his facility. Because to be in this industry, you have to show that you have competence and you have the capacity, both financial and technical, you know. Yeah. That's when we started inching into oil and gas. So, of course, I had an arrangement with my brother who runs a company called Funktai Limited. Funktai is a name borrowed from Korea, because he does a lot of business with Koreans and China, Chinese people. He had a major project that time that they partnered with Chinese guys and I think Korean guys. And when they were done, he adopted the name Funktai, you know, and it's still a very big name to reckon with today in Nigeria when they talk about construction and dredging and what have you. So we got into a quasi-partnership. Yeah. Quasi in the sense that the equipment were available to me. Yeah. He gave me an MOU that I could use any of the things he wanted and I wanted to use, because that's what the IOCs want to see. Yeah. It's not that, oh, I have them, because they're going to inspect what you have.
So the IOC being the International Oil Corporation.
International Oil Corporations.
Yes.
Yeah, oil companies. You know. So we started with that. The first I had was security contract to do installations for the then Minister of Petroleum. Yeah. It was a big deal. It was a big deal, man. Yeah. Getting into an NPC database, that is what it means. Yeah. Because that time I was in NPC database. Yeah. Okay? So I was just trading and doing other things, but not in corporate world. Yeah. Don't forget. Yeah. So the day I was paid, the day Baywood was paid by NNPC, almost, I think I laminated the payment. I laminated the payment instruction.
Yes, it's back that one on the seal. Yes.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Oh,
So that was your first payment.
that was the first payment.
Even
Like
as an entrepreneur,
I can't remember what that payment was like. Maybe about 50,000 or 500,000 to do installation, and I'm like, wow.
Dollars or naira?
Dollars.
Dollars.
My man, I'm not dealing naira. I'm dealing. I suddenly realized I can make money in dollars. Don't you understand how sweet it sounds, right?
Yeah. yes. Uh-huh.
Like
So
I
you
said,
laminated the payment.
it's like I laminated the payment instruction.
Yeah.
Wow. That was the spore.
Wow.
Okay. So
And that's the turning point.
that was a turning point. I said, okay, so I can do this.
Yeah.
So I was virtually everywhere. Civil construction, ICT. Then the next one I had again was to do LAN, local area network.
Yes.
For the same NNPC. Like, wow. So things are turning around, right? Yeah. Got into construction, did a lot of civil construction for NNPC again. NNPC stands for Nigerian National Petroleum Corporation. Yeah. So, for records. So just like you have Ugandan National Oil Company here. So, wow. And Baywood was becoming a name.
Baywood was becoming Baywood.
Yes, Baywood was
becoming Baywood.
And that's why I said there's always something in a name.
Yeah.
Make no mistakes about it.
Yeah.
First of all, each time Baywood presents the business card or whatever, first thing, it's an international company.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Not Ikechukwu and Sons, Nigeria Limited.
So the naming matters.
Oh my God. Better be careful.
Yeah.
With selecting names.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So, that name was a door opener for me. And that continued until I met a guy, the same guy who said to me, Bae, why don't you talk to your brothers? Come on, man, your brothers are in this business. So the guy said to me one day, do you know a department called NAPIMS? NAPIMS is an acronym.
Yes.
It stands for National Petroleum Investment Management Services.
National Petroleum Investment Management Services.
That is a subsidiary of the NNPC.
Yes.
These are the guys that deal with the upstream oil and gas in Nigeria.
When we're talking about this now, we're talking about real money here.
We're talking
we're
about
talking about
real
serious
money.
now. We're talking about serious business.
We're talking about mega money.
Yeah.
I said, no, I don't know. He said, okay, I'm going to direct you to that place. You see, one thing I can tell you, once you get started in something, from one, you learn to the other.
Yeah.
From the other, you learn to the other.
Yeah.
Referrals, discussions, and stuff like that. Provided always you keep track and get focused. Just remain there. Remain there.
Yeah.
So this guy said, do you know so-so? I said, no. He gave me a name to talk to when I get there. And I got there and I said to the guy, the guy said, no, okay. We are not in charge of this particular area you want to get into.
Yeah.
He gave me another name. When I got there, we introduced ourselves and we talked about our schools. Lo and behold, the guy is my alma mater. Same school, but we didn't meet ourselves. Okay.
The same military school.
The same military school.
Yes.
Pasai military, not Pasai military. You know what I'm saying? We bonded immediately.
Yeah.
He said, I'm going to give you all the support. I'm going to give you all the support. Do you have this? Do you have that? Do you have to? So he gave me like what we call in Nigeria Expo. Expo is a common parlance we use when you are being foretold of something ahead.
Yeah.
Do you understand?
I want you to say that in Nigeria.
Expo.
How you say it in Nigeria? In Nigeria, how a typical Nigeria would say it?
I don't have a typical language for it. But Expo, if you understand what the Expo, I'm giving you Expo. Expo means I'm giving you information that you shouldn't know.
Yes.
Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yes.
So that I can help.
It has not come from me, but yes, you use this information.
You can't go and say, I got this Expo from. No. Yeah. It's not supposed to be known.
Yeah.
Okay. But this is coming from some guy who wants to help you. My dear, when I saw the money, when I saw the contract, award $50 million, award $100 million, award $200 million. And I paused a little while and said, these guys, can I do this? I said, why not? They don't have two heads. They don't have two heads. So for me, it's another turning point. And the rest is history. And Baywood began to grow from there, made so many, took bold steps, made successes out of them. And when we grew the Baywood Continental, Baywood began to, grow other branches, okay? Because we, as a company, we are focused on facilities. We call it from cradle to grave. From cradle to grave is anything in the oil industry we can construct. From building, from the moment you poured your oil, from your first oil, because we are not drillers. The drillers are the guys that will go first, or they have the seismic guys. The seismic guys will go first and get data, do a data acquisition, and from data acquisition, they have guys who will now go and begin to drill. From drill, the moment you get your oil, from there until you export, this is our business.
Wow.
Yes. So
This is Baywood.
This is Baywood
business.
Continental. This is our business.
Yeah.
We design, we build, and we procure everything that has to do from the point you get your oil to the point where you export your oil. In other words, we construct the pipeline, we design the pipelines, we design all facilities that will make the oil produce, and we take it to the terminals. And we build the terminals, we build everything, other appurtenances that have to be in the terminals to store the oil, to export the oil. Then, of course, we do every other thing that has to do with maintaining the facilities, because one thing that they do and do pretty well in the oil and gas industry is optimal maintenance, preventive, not reactive. They do preventive. So you can have a facility that will last you for 100 years because you continuously do preventive and planned maintenance. This is our core area for Baywood. And then from there, of course, Baywood gave birth to better other companies. We have the aviation company called TAL Aviation. We operated in Nigeria, operated helicopters until pandemic. With pandemic, of course, most airlines and aviators suffered. Okay, we have the engineering arm called High Tech. So the High Tech does all the engineering activities, both feed, pre-feed, and detailed engineering. And of course, we have the exploration arm called, then it used to be called Baywood Exploration and Production. But with the turnaround of things, the so-called talk about exit from fossil fuel to clean energy and doing the renewable energy. So we changed from Baywood Exploration and Production, so it doesn't look a bit restrictive, to Baywood Energy Development. So, and of course, energy is still, oil and gas is still part of energy, but we just don't want to make it look restricted that when you see our company, you think we're just doing exploration and production only.
We're going to take a break, and when we come back, Chris Baywood will be telling us a little bit more about what it's like to be the CEO and the president of the group. Obviously, we're talking about some large amount of money. He said the gallons and the gallons of money. That's what he says it. And we want to know, what does that mean to manage that kind of business, to manage the multinational business at that level, internationally in Nigeria. These guys are not playing games. These are big boys. Stay right there. We'll be right back after this break. It is a CEO Bench. Welcome back to the program where we get to discuss change management, leadership, and transformation. We are now going to that part of, transformation. We've talked about, leadership. You've had the story of leadership of, Emperor Chris Baywood, eBay. And we're going to that moment where we talked about change management, or we're going to talk about change management. We've been talking about it already. We're going to wind up that, and we'll get into, the transformation. How does Baywood as a company, change lives of people? And how is this whole thing of, being a social activist and being a youth empowerment person, what change? How is it that a person of his caliber is beginning to push down here, yet he's supposed to be talking about big things, Stay right there, okay? We're going to bring back, Emperor Chris Baywood, welcome back to the program. What a fascinating story and journey so far that you have had in your life. And you talked about this. I want to know, what is it like to be the president and the CEO of Baywood Continental Baywood Group? And all these things going on. How do you manage?
First of all, it's determination and purposefulness. You know, I like to use the word purposefulness because you have to be very purposeful in life to succeed.
Yeah.
Another word for it, it's got to be deliberate, you know, to succeed, no matter what. And being deliberate and purposeful means that you got to stay focused and you have to have your eye on the ball.
Yeah.
Eye on the ball, always. So I'm one guy that has always had my eye on the ball, and what's that ball? To succeed. Make a success, not minding the challenges. Of course, Baywood Continental didn't just get to become Baywood Continental without challenges, or Baywood Group without challenges. We have had enormous challenges that, for the faint-hearted, would have chickened out.
Yeah.
Right? Making money is not for the lily-livered. Making money is it's not for the faint-hearted. You have to have a very strong will to weather the storm because it comes with a lot of storm.
Yeah.
Right? It's not a walk in the park. If it's a walk in the park, it would have been like the normal proverb would say, if wishes were horses. If
wishes were horses, yes.
Beggars would do what? Will ride.
Yeah.
So I can recall my very two experiences that, again, transformed Baywood. It couldn't have been without those things. Number one was my first project with Shell. Don't forget, I migrated from NNPC, right, as a service provider, to now I'm going to work for the IOCs. Different animal.
Different ball game.
Different ball game, man, because the IOCs, they take no prisoner, right? They take no prisoner, man. And in those early days, we were the guinea pigs, of course. In the oil and gas industry in Nigeria, there was no local content. Most countries never were practicing anything local content. It was exclusive of the multinationals. They come there, do their business, and of course, get in, get out, all right? No much of investment. So some of the local practitioners were one of the early callers in that industry. Of course, it comes with a very big price. Always a price you pay. And when you want to pay that price, it's very painful, right? Yeah. So I think one of our first project about 1993 with the IOC, if I'm correct, was about $5 million. Very excited, man. $5 million.
From 50 million to 100,000 to 5 million.
Yes, dollars.
From 50,000.
Dollars.
Yes,
and
dollars to now to 5 million.
Before,
yes.
You know, we did quite a lot of projects with NNPC there, you know, maybe 30 million, you know, 10 million, but it's not compared to $5 million.
$5 million to $500 million.
$5 million, initial money, initial award, first award from IOC, $5 million in 1993, my brother. It's like David, what do you call it, what's it called this short guy that is a film producer. He said, money stinks, but he loves the smell.
Yeah.
Danny DeVito.
Yeah, Danny DeVito. Yeah. He said money stinks when he loves the smell. It means you
said money is the only thing that stinks, but he loves the smell. So for me, big money is what gives me a kick. When I hear big money, I'm like, huh? What can I do to make it?
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
So we got a project down the line, we lost the contract.
How did you lose the contract?
Euphoria of a young man getting into a big project and not doing planning very well in accordance with the expectations of your clients, which now happen to be IOCs. Okay, procedures, processes, quality, standard, specifications, and any little thing can cost you a project. More so, don't forget, there was no local content. So you're on your own. As a matter of fact, the first time or the first thing they do when you show up as a local company to do with before these oil companies, you say, no, they don't want you. So it's local content that has made it look like, oh, okay, we are in charge. Okay, but it's good for the country. Okay, you know. So we lost the project, but that was another turning point. Several turning points. You know, you have to learn these things.
Yeah.
Another turning point is that the IOC said, listen, guys. Well, of course, I went to the regulators of the oil and gas industry in Nigeria at the time, and I complained that this is what happened. I don't think it was right for them to have taken my project. As God may have it, God is kind, you know what I'm saying? So, and everything we do in life, God must take preeminence, and you know, God first. So I had, in between, I had another project coming up from within the same client. But the client was so particular about this particular one they cancelled. Yeah. I think they had an interest. Let me put it this way. I think that's an interest.
Yeah.
They needed that contract. And they didn't expect that when they went to tender, that the Nigerian company would win.
Okay.
So, coming from a nowhere
to a somewhere.
To a somewhere.
Yeah.
Relatively unknown. I think I ruffled feathers. I ruffled feathers, right?
Wow.
So a booby trap was set.
Yeah.
You know, these guys are more systemic than us.
Yeah, systemic in nature and approach.
And they're process driven. He set up a booby trap and I fell into it. Come. Point of no return. Okay, how do we negotiate out? The regulator said, okay, if you must take this one, you have to let these guys do this other one.
Yes.
But they were not ready to let us be in the system any longer.
Because you're becoming more and more
a threat.
Yes.
So, first option is out of the system. Okay. But again, that's when you have strong regulators. Yeah. They were very firm and said, no, this guy is not going to be out of the system. Yeah. If you think they have done something and they have not done something right, put them right. Let them do it and do it well. Yeah. So we're given the option to get restructured. And you know, as a young businessman,
restructure the contract.
They would.
Okay, restructure the company, not restructure the contract.
It must be a structured company.
Yeah.
Not just one, because they see Baywood then as one-man business. Yeah. Which is what happens to a lot of us in Africa.
Yeah.
It's just about me, right?
Yeah.
And that's why we don't grow.
Yeah.
If you have to grow.
And that right there is a lesson, is what we're saying to us?
Say again?
Is that right there is a lesson you're trying to share with us?
A big one. Yeah. So what the point here is, we have to let go from the company. We have to create a structure that separates us, me, or you, from the company. Yeah. So because at that time, it was me. What do I mean by that? I was the general manager. I was the managing director. I was the CFO. I was the accountant. I was more or less the admin officer. So the check was in my pocket.
Yeah.
Before that time, okay? So I write check, I approve check, I get cash, I dispense of cash, and blah, blah, blah. That's not the way. So you never get anywhere. And that's how our fathers operated. Because it's just about them, so they never go beyond the limit. Yeah. Okay? If you can't, the only way for you to go from where you are is to bring more brains.
Yes.
If you bring more brains, then it will increase the capacity of what you have. Yeah. All right? And you have to let go. Yeah. So, okay, that was done. They suggested, well, they didn't suggest, they said we should identify business process companies.
Yeah.
They will come and audit. We did. We appointed one. They audited Baywood. One thing they said is, first of all, please, sir, Chris Baywood is an individual. One hand. Baywood Contender is a company, right? So you have to place yourself on the right salary and appoint certain positions, create certain positions. That we did, and we began to run. So the company readmitted us back. The IOC readmitted us back by that singular action that we restructured. They came, before the readmission, they had to come and assess the work done so far by the company, by the independent company. And they found that, yes, we have put in processes in place, we have put structures in place, and they have to see the individuals. It's not just creating the boxes. And
filling the boxes without, yes.
So that we did. And then, of course, the next is history, and Baywood began to run based on those structures. And every day we that's what they call continuous improvement in your process. Process improvement, structure improvement. Of course, we grew to become ISO certified, and we grew to eventually from ISO certified, being local ISO certified company. Then it was SON, Standard Organization of Nigeria, that certified us. From there, we moved to Bureau Veritas as an international certification body to certify Baywood. And ever since then, we've been running as a very well-run organization with different departments and different people manning it. So I can afford, just like that I've been here now and going to 1 month, the company is running without me. All right, yes, I have my level of approval. When it gets to the point where I have to approve, information is filtered to me. When it's necessary to copy me in any communication, I am copied. Otherwise, people do their business based on work schedules and how the work breakdown structure, we call it, has been assigned to them. So, and they feed in. I have people who report to me, they have people who report to them. It's bottom down and top down. Okay? Yeah, so whenever it's necessary, they report to you. Where it's not necessary, okay, so they run their bank, they run the financials, they run everything. I'm not here.
That said, Emperor Chris Baywood, we wanted to speak from there. You talked about the challenge, and how did you outcome the challenge of the big loss that you made?
Saving grace I had at that time was, okay, I had another project that was coming up, and that project cushioned the losses for that one. But then again, another big challenge that I had again that strengthened Baywood was I had another project, and I think it's that same pipeline project that was coming up at the time I was losing this. Oh God, multiple chain reactions. Yes, that project came up. I took that project down the line. We were caught up in the crisis in the Niger Delta. Because Niger Delta region is where you have the major oil production activities, in Nigeria. Yeah. So our operations pretty much revolves around Niger Delta, right? Whether it's in Port Harcourt, in Cross River State, Akwa Ibom, or Delta State, as it's called, But they're all called the, Niger Delta. This is where you have the large concentration of oil activities in Nigeria. So, but this particular incident happened in Warri. Warri is located in Delta State, all right? So we were in charge of the western region of certain IOCs doing the pipelines and stuff like that. But during this period, there was a whole lot of crisis within the region, between communal clashes, I would say. They engaged in a lot of communal crises that engulfed the state, and some of us were caught in the crossfire. Because we were down in the creeks, doing those projects. We were caught in the crossfire, where we lost a lot of our equipment. They were burnt down. Some were thrown overboard into the water. And we had borrowed a lot of money from the bank that time, a bank called Citizens Bank. Then borrowed a lot of money to do that project. That's one hell of a challenge I had in my life, again, as a businessman, which I don't see in a lot of people here in Uganda. They want to make money, but I don't think they want to carry on when they have challenges. They chicken out, But Nigerians, we know how to shrug it off. We know how to manage our situation. Yeah. So I had borrowed money from that bank to do that project. I think about 100-something million at the time. The 100-something million at the time was almost equivalent to $100 million.
That's 160 million naira.
100-something million at the time.
Yes.
Because it was almost 90.900 to $1, in those early days. So.
And what was the rate at which you borrowed the money per annum?
40%.
Wow.
Where in the world can you operate with 40%?
Only at Chris Baywood.
It's not about Chris Baywood. It's about that was the exchange, what the interest rate regime and policy within the country at the time. Yeah. But what I mean is, my dear brother, it's how do I call it? It's so draconian.
Yeah. Okay. It's a draconian law, kind of.
But that's the best they could offer. Yeah. And we call them the new generation banks that time. Those guys were sharks. Those guys don't care huge about you. They were just living large. Yeah. Okay. I don't know how they got their money. They set up banks, small banks here and there, and they're ready to fleece you, And then exchange rate, the interest rate in Nigeria at that time was were the mercy of the bankers. Yeah. So we had this thing. Upon the challenges that I had, so the interest rate ballooned, the loan, and at the point, I think it was almost ₦1 billion, my dear. At the time, ₦1 billion at the time in Nigeria, at the time, was almost like $900–800 million.
Yeah.
Okay. And then, of course, a lot of failed bank facilities.
Yeah.
Of course, why would it not fail?
Yeah.
40%.
40% is quite a huge.
Yeah. What business are you going to do with a 40% interest?
Yeah.
There were a lot of loan defaulters, that the banks were going on as well, because when you don't pay your loan and this one don't pay his loan or that one don't pay their loan, of course the banks will not survive. Yeah. So I think Central Bank came up with a policy to recover the debts, and then of course one of such policies was to publish the names of debtors.
Lo and behold, the one and only Emperor Chris Baywood, Ibe.
We had lost so much money. I think my loan position stood at about ₦1 billion at that time with that bank, and our name was published as one of the largest or the biggest debtors. I think either number 1 or number 2 at the time. My dear brother, I was not in the country when it happened.
Had you taken off, or you just gone?
No. I went out. I mean, I didn't know. I mean, one of these business trips. I think I was in India. I think I had a meeting with a partner. I was at the time prospecting to work with us in Nigeria, and our name, Baywood Continental, was listed in Nigerian newspapers. My God, as one of the largest debtors of that bank to that bank. You know, my office. My workers, they were dead before me. They were dead before me.
Yeah.
You know.
I mean, it's all natural.
Yeah,
when things come like that, you don't know.
Out of love, out of compassion and everything, they didn't know what to do. So they called me and said, "Sir, this is what is going on in Nigeria. Please don't come back," because they had set EFCC against the loan defaulters. EFCC is Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, set up by federal government of Nigeria, not primarily to hunt down loan defaulters, but against economic saboteurs, right?
Yes.
In any form or shape.
Yeah.
And of course, in this regard, we have been classified as economic saboteurs because we're owing banks, okay? But you know what? Yeah. It's just owing supposedly a superfluous money. This is the way I describe it. It's superfluous, because how do I mean superfluous? I didn't borrow '600 million naira. I didn't borrow '800 million naira. I borrowed
less than this.
I borrowed far less than this.
Yes, and
but because of the interest accumulation and what they call compound rate, compound interest, default charges, blah blah blah. Before you know it, it ballooned. Then I told my staff who called me, I said, "Why shouldn't I come back? I have not defrauded anybody. This is legitimate business. We are a corporate organization. We have not taken anybody's money illegally. So why should I not come back to Nigeria? And I don't think EFCC should arrest me because I've not defrauded anybody. Neither have I defrauded the federal government of Nigeria." Okay? And so this we can discuss. I said, "Sir, please don't come back." I went against that.
And you went back to Nigeria.
I ruled against. I came back to Nigeria. Of course, I was not arrested. Lo and behold, this bank had appointed an attorney to go to court and start a process of wind-up of the company, Baywood Continental.
Wow.
Yes. That means they're going to appoint receiver manager. Receiver manager means you're bankrupt, you're insolvent.
Yes, so
do you understand what I'm saying?
Yes.
You're going to receivership, right? Yeah. My God, that was the toughest moment. That's it. And I never wanted to lose my name, because if you go through such process, you never operate with that name any longer. Do you understand? Yeah. You can't do business again with Baywood. Yeah. Okay? Yeah. Unless you do.
You find a way out.
You find a way out. So it was a major concern to me. And on another thought, I said, okay, let me have a meeting with the bank before we go through that process. I went to the bank, had a meeting with the bank ED, and I told the ED, listen, guys, I mean, we need to do something about this. I didn't borrow this money, and I don't know why I have to be in this list. I think it's not very good. Something has to be done. And they said, no, you have to pay down I have to pay some money before you go into any negotiation. I said, I don't have the money to pay. I was very determined. But one thing that occurred to me is that in the worst case scenario, actually, I was going to declare bankruptcy.
In which case they would not get their money.
In this case, I don't. So I looked at this guy and I said, excuse me, sir, are you aware that the so-called money I'm owing you, they're all paper money? I don't owe you this money. Technically, we don't owe this money. It's just paper money. So the best thing for us would be to negotiate and let's find a way and make a win-win situation so that we find a way to pay the money.
This is between the bank and Baywood Continental.
Correct. It's between the bank and Baywood Continental. Finally, I think they saw the reasoning with me. The sense of reasoning came into them and we discussed. And it was pruned down to about 600 million naira. We had a haircut down to 600 from almost 1 billion to 600 million.
Yes.
And with that, we were able to start making payments. So I entered into payment plan with the lawyer who they had appointed, who had gone to court to start that winding process. So we entered into negotiation with them. And of course, EFCC eventually invited me. We had a meeting with them in the bank, together with bankers, and they said, listen, I don't owe this money. This is how much I owe, and this is the way we plan to pay it.
Yeah.
And I was set free. I mean, I didn't go behind bars because of that or detained by EFCC, because there was a clear understanding, a clear plan to how to make the payment.
Emperor, we always don't hear this part, but when you're talking about this story, I can see you become more emotional. It takes you back to the day it happened. You know, as a CEO and president, I still see that a lot when you try to recount the story. Many of them don't make it alive. We have had such situation in Uganda here where they just die of stress, or they just go to sleep and they don't get up, and then something happened. You know, what are the lessons that we can pick from here? What can we learn from you right now? For all the CEOs who are watching this CEO program from all across the world, you've been caught in a situation like Emperor Baywood is talking about with your company. How do you pull out of it? You know, how do you get out of it? What are the things that you need to do to get out of it? You are a CEO up on the top, or you are a CEO going to the top? You know, how do you get out of this situation? What are the lessons that we can pick from here? We want you to write us comments. Kisses and disses are all welcome. And of course, we will have, Emperor Bay would write back and, some of those comment sections to give us, a thing or two. And if you're young and you're building, this is quite a journey for you to pick. It's a journey of patience.
Yeah, truly a journey of patience. You have to believe in yourself. That's number one. Number two, you have to be very confident. And you just have to have the spirit of can-do attitude. Again, let me put it this way. Yes, I know the banks are there. They want to collect as much money as they could. But you know what? They will always say, we're not in the business to sell your property.
Yeah.
We are not real estate owners. Our managers, we are interested in getting our money paid. So you can, most times you enter you schedule your debt. Even countries with IMF, especially African countries, they always reschedule their debts, provided you are a going concern. If they kill you, your company, and kill Edith's company, and kill another person's company, they are not in business anymore.
Yeah, they will never get
So it's not actually in their best interest to kill anybody's company, all right? But they have to see a willingness for you to continue to be in business. You have to show that willingness and to pay. You have to have, again, there are two kinds of borrowers. People who really borrow to pay and those who borrow not to pay. Yeah. Right? And if you're amongst those who borrow not to pay, then it's a recipe for failure. Because sooner or later, your business will go into extinction, right? I set out not to allow my company to die because I look at other companies. I look at multinationals, and I ask myself, international organizations, I say, why are we not able to replicate such organizations in Africa? Why do we have to grow and die and fizzle away? When you have companies, they say, established 200 years ago, established 100 years ago, Why can we not do it in Africa? Succession plan, sustainability plan, and the focus of the founder. Yeah. Okay, these things got to come into play. It's a mix, right? I like to see my company being there for, and outlive me, and outlive my children. It's a legacy. So I pride myself in trying to build a legacy. It's not about how big. It's not about how big. You must not forget, right? Legacy is not about how big, but how you're able to nurture it, to grow and maintain. So that actually sets you apart from any other one. Wow. So we have grown as a company for over 30 years, and we have maintained the name. We didn't change the name. We have not changed the name. And we don't intend to change the name because it's a brand that we're very proud of. Yeah. And I do not intend to lose my brand identity. Because my brand identity says it all. If I go to the capital market to raise money, my brand identity also is a lot of brings in a lot of equity.
Yeah,
right?
That is where your equity is calculated.
And that's where my equity comes. Okay, yeah. I'm a brand identity. If you can't go to Shell today and say Baywood, they say we don't know Baywood. Yeah. You can't go to Total Energy in Nigeria and say Baywood. They say before you talk to 1, 2, 3 departments, at least they know. NNPC, just anywhere we have service. So it's a brand identity. Not only in the corporate world. What about the individuals that know you? What about the people you have come in contact with? Baywood. So it's a brand identity. It's priceless, and I treasure it. And this is one thing that I must tell to those people who are willing to build businesses. You must build your business to maintain your brand identity, right? It's not all about money. Make money, yes, we're all in business to make money, but it must be in business to make money and maintain and sustain your brand identity, because it's one thing that you can't wish away. It's priceless. Yeah. It's a treasure. Yeah. And this to me, I don't know about others, but to me, it's a treasure. And that's what I tell my children. I say, you must grow to this company. You must treasure this company. Yeah. Don't mess up with the name. Because it's a name that is so dear to my heart, that I hold so dearly. Wow.
Talking of that, Emperor Chris Baywood, as we hasten to the evening of our interview today, I mean, we're talking right here, and I'm sure somebody was watching the show, a young person or a middle-aged person in a corporation or employed, or somebody on a CEO ladder climbing up, or somebody coming down. Obviously, you have a wealth of knowledge. Just shed a light for us on how big is Baywood Group, so that people just understand. You've been throwing figures and talking about 1989. We don't know what the magnitude. I just wanted to point us to the magnitude of the worth of the company and the lessons that we can pick from there, and how this company is transforming lives back in Nigeria and across the world, and where is it located?
I would like to say that in Nigeria oil and gas, in my core area of business, I think we should be among the top 5. All right, in capacity, in experience, and in project portfolio. Yeah, I would say we're amongst the top 5, amongst the top 10 indigenous companies. Yeah. Our project portfolio is large, and in doing that, we try to develop skills in-house. I would say in my structure, I don't have international, except project-based. When it matters most, that I bring international experts. Other than that, we're a fully indigenous company. Yeah. From top to bottom, we're fully indigenous, providing the services. We bring in international experts, on need basis. And that we have done a couple of times, but they finish their project and they go. Yeah. In terms of portfolio size, we'll say that our portfolio is quite large. I just like to keep it that simple.
Can you give us a figure? I mean, it's just, if you don't mind.
We have done projects in hundreds of millions of dollars. Okay?
Hundreds of millions or billions of dollars?
Not billions, hundreds of millions of dollars.
Hundreds of millions of dollars.
Hundreds of millions of dollars. Yeah. That I can tell you. Cumulatively, over the time, I think we would have done projects in excess of about $2-3 billion. Okay. Over time, cumulatively. Yeah. either as a solo or joint venture.
Okay. And what's our asset base kind of looking like?
Our asset base is heavy, but you know, these assets depreciate.
Yes.
Right? We have a large armada of assets, all right? Construction asset that is really quite very impressive. Very, very impressive.
In terms of its portfolio?
In terms of portfolio, don't forget we were in aviation. We had our helicopters.
Yeah.
We operated 4 fleets of helicopters.
Yeah.
AW139. AW is Augusta Westland.
Yeah.
Augusta Westland helicopters. We operated pre-COVID, but of course, Nigeria has been hit so much, particularly in oil and gas. Our operation went down because the activities of exploration and production in Nigeria went down so much so that business activities declined. And one of the major hits is aviation, because this operation is done for the IOCs to move people back and forth. And when they reduced their footprint of operation, a lot of things didn't occur any longer, and it's still on, because even as of today, due to the challenges we have in the Niger Delta, due to a lot of what I call oil theft, our production capacity has dropped from about 1.8 million barrels to 1.4 to 1.2, and now it's about 800,000 barrels per day of oil. So most of our activities is more or less then with the insecurity in Nigeria, actually. Activities have tapered down a little bit in Nigeria, that I can say. So our assets are just idling out because we don't have a lot of equipment, we don't have a lot of jobs right now to deploy this asset. Hence, the depreciation, and our looking elsewhere, coming to Uganda, because we know that Uganda has a lot of opportunities today in the oil and gas industry, and they're yet to develop their local capacity. All right, and I'm very happy with the way the Ugandans are going. They're more focused towards partnering with Africans, African companies who have over the years, made their mark in the industry, rather than build their own capacity and train their people. So rather than partner with international organizations, they're rather more inclined to partnering with local companies, Nigerian African-oriented companies, like Baywood, and this is why I'm here, and we're hoping that all things being equal, we may be deploying those armada of idling equipment to Uganda to support the oil and gas activities.
Wow. I want to just bring this. I know you have not answered that, but I wanted to know, in terms of coming to Uganda, when you talk about, you've given out the portfolio in terms of the business, but in terms of the asset base, I know you talked about the depreciation, but just to give us an understanding. Sometime when you're talking, people will be thinking, and we're talking about mandazi, and we're talking about bananas and chips. We're not talking about this. We're talking these things that are different all level altogether. I want to give us that understanding of what the asset portfolio like, just rough.
You mean in terms of value?
Asset value, yeah.
Asset value? Yeah. Well, if you have to buy those assets today,
total as you have,
what we have, you'll be spending close to about $150 million to $200 million to acquire the. Without the helicopters, of course, one helicopter is about $30 million, $35 million. Yes. But of course, we don't own those helicopters anymore because we return them. The beautiful thing about that is that that's what they call wet and dry lease, okay? If you do a wet lease, they will come with all the full complement of crews. Yes. But because we have capacity in-house, Nigeria, so we didn't come with crews. We operated the equipment. But so with the downturn, we didn't have to, have so much idle assets that would be wasted. So we returned back to our lessor, and then that saved us a lot of cost. But initially, it was a lot of exposure to fund the aviation and run the aviation to the extent we did, because aviation is also very capital intensive. And it's one place you cannot cut corners.
All right. As my second to last question to you, as we wind up this interview, it goes to say, Assuming you are now in Uganda today, will you help us develop the capacity? Will you help us develop the local talent? I mean, for some of this equipment, we're pretty much new into this oil and gas sector, into this oil and gas business. Uganda is a very young child that is coming up, that needs a lot of guidance, and that parents need to think through this whole process very well. But learning from, those who have been before us, like you, Nigeria, will that be a possibility for local content, local people, local talent development? And also, how will that transform us, by the way?
Let me go back to what I said. I love the spirit of Ugandans and the government and the regulatory authorities. They're more focused towards Africa, African-oriented companies. Again, and they're looking towards more to Nigeria, because when you talk about oil and gas activity in Africa, Nigeria will come top. All right, we have developed our local capacity. We have developed the, not only technical, we have developed the financial muscles. We have developed even the skills from the smallest to the biggest. So we come to Uganda with a whole lot of giving back, so to speak.
Yeah.
All we need is simply the support from the authorities of Uganda to either relocate or build an extension of what we have developed in Nigeria here, with some reasonability of assurance. What do I mean by reasonability of assurance? Every businessman wants to recoup his investment. Yeah. It would be foolhardy for me to set up here, run my workshops, facilities, staff, people, different cadres without project. Because our money also
not just projects, meaningful
projects.
Yeah.
And our monies don't come cheap, or like our international partner, the counterparts. Yeah. Say, for example, if you have a UK company coming from UK now to establish in Uganda, he's running on an interest rate of 4%. Right? Yeah. I'm coming from Nigeria to set up in Uganda. I'm running currently at interest of 22%. So, balance factor. I mean, how far can I sustain? So, the authorities in Uganda got to make conscious effort to want to, make companies like us here to stay. Because in so doing, they will quickly jumpstart the capacity development of their own. Listen, I just have to say it here. Yes, that you want to support only Ugandan companies, supposedly in the true meaning to the letter. Ugandan companies means you have a D. Okila who has a company, a D. Okila and Sons Limited, blah, 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 but it doesn't have anybody to support him. He's just an Ugandan. It's okay, give a D. Okila a section of the pipeline to go and construct. It doesn't have the financial muscle. Yeah. It doesn't have the technical knowledge. They might claim that they have the technical knowledge, but it doesn't have it because it has not. These things are not wishful thinking, all right? It's over the years. The way we are today is not the way we were 20 years ago. Yeah. There are a lot of lessons learned, because one of the things we have learned again in the course of our business is what I call lessons learned. At the end of every project, you sit down with your client and have what they call lessons learned register. What can I do better? How can I do it better than if I have the opportunity tomorrow? What can I do better to make me a better company? Yeah. So this has to go on for a long time before you can say, dear killer, yes, if I give him this project, I can go to bed and sleep. He can deliver. Yes, I mean, you want to support your local guys, but you know what? I think a lot of emphasis need to be made to work with, to give companies like us that are coming into Uganda. However, there must be demonstrable, what I can call demonstrable measures and ways of making sure that we transfer technology. Yeah. And these guys learn, okay? And through they got to learn, develop not only technical, develop financial. Because the more you work with me as either a subcontractor or as a partner, and you get your money and you plow back, that's another thing. Yeah. You continue to, because if you make this money and do another business, you're not going to grow the business, right? Yeah. So one of the things that we did as a company is that we grew Baywood for so long not doing any other business except this. Before we began to look elsewhere to diversify. Now we're in technology, okay? We're going into media, we're going into e-commerce, we're going into fintech, and all under one umbrella of what we call, the company called CBI Technology and CBI Digital Media Technology, all right? A combination of all these things is going to set Africa again on another part, on another level when it comes to entertainment, financial technology, e-commerce market, and digital media. You couldn't do it when we were just growing, when we didn't have the financial muscle. If you do it, because you need to build the flagship. That's why I call Baywood Content our flagship. All right. Most of these investments that we have made in other companies is coming from Baywood Content. That God may have it. We're not borrowing so much, so we are not really heavily leveraged as a company, right? Because one thing is for certain. Whatever you borrow, you must pay. All right? Whatever you borrow, man, be careful.
We're already having that situation in Kampala, in Uganda.
If you don't pay, then you're gone. You're done. So I don't take money that I don't need. Okay? So this is a clear message.
That's a big lesson, eh?
Yeah.
You don't take money that you don't need.
I don't take money that I don't need. You have to be clear in your head that you're going to borrow 100 million naira or 1 billion shillings. What are you using the 1 billion shillings to do? Have you done your numbers? Have you crunched your numbers? Have you done your business case? A lot of people don't do their business case. They just, AD is doing very well here. Let me go join AD. You don't know whether AD has something else that is supporting that one. Because you might think that that business is thriving. Unknown to you, that business is being supported by another business from somewhere. Just like when we were doing the helicopter business. We were not making money. It was supported by Baywood Continental because we didn't have a lot of operation, okay? So because we were not able to land a big contract with the IOC, so what we started to doing was what we call sport charter. You know, people would come and take us for 1 day, 2 days, 1 week. That's how we were running. We were not making money. We were just waiting in anticipation to make the land the big project, but it was being supported by Baywood Continental. So, and that's one of the things, when Baywood Continental business began to decline, because of the decline in oil activities in Nigeria, the helicopter operation was affected.
Because it had not yet built to that level.
Because we have not built
to that level, it can stand alone.
And we have done it for 8 years, waiting for, because these contracts it takes a while to come, all right? And this one service as well we can provide here, the helicopter service, because I see the distance in oil and gas, so I ask myself, who are the operators here? So these are the kind of things that Baywood Group can as well bring to Uganda, because we have had that experience over time in Nigeria.
Wow, ladies and gentlemen, Emperor Baywood, you know, a man of many colors. And now we're talking about some really big things here on the CEO bench. My name is Eddie Okela, and before we break, Emperor, we want to go back to the moment you loved so much. When I interacted with you, keep talking about, I'm a social activist, I'm a youth, empowerment driver, leader in Africa. Let's talk about that as we wind up.
Yes, I'm very passionate about that.
Why the youth?
They're the future. I don't care, but they're the future. It's not only in Nigeria, the youth are the future. It's like you have a family, you have children. They are going to take over you. If you insist that your children will remain children as they are, they will revolt. And they can even plan to kill you.
Yeah. And in some incidences, it has happened.
Oh, yes. Yes, in some instances.
We're seeing that in Europe.
Oh, yes. Oh, yeah. So, I grew up, that's one thing that I'm so passionate about, because one of the things that what drove me into that is, again, philanthropy comes with, there must be something must strike the chord. Something struck the chord for me. And that thing gave way to my philanthropic nature. And I began to preach it, I began to talk about it, I began to say, listen, unless these guys, we're in automation age, right? This time we're in automation age. And one of the studies I did is, why do we have our fathers and our grandfathers still as the dominant players in our political life? Our political lives. Why are they not allowing the young ones to come up? And the world is fast moving away from the old generation to the young generation, but the Africans are still holding it firmly to their chest. And I think it's time that we have to rise up. And I started championing it. I went around Africa. I've been everywhere with my Baywood Foundation, preaching about the youth. I don't call it anymore youth empowerment, investment.
Youth investment.
Yes, you have to invest in your youth. You have to make your youth to be employable, because today, most youths in Africa are not even employable because we believe so much in certificates, right?
Other than substance of skill.
Other than substance of skill.
Yeah.
Okay, so yes, without downplaying education, without downplaying educational qualifications like going to universities and everything, but I think we have to, again, consider vocational training, skill training, exposing them to the realities of life, not just stay in the classroom and theorize, okay, and they come out and they look like they are lost, okay, because most of our universities are not equipped to expose them to such realities of the world, okay? Even in the Western world, where you are exposed to a lot of, maybe you have a very well set up laboratories, you have maybe process facilities, but at the end of the day, it's modular. Yeah. It's not natural. Yeah. When you go out there to work, you see that it's a different kind of fish. Yeah. So I think that the way to go for me, one of the things I've been preaching is that we need to get these youths to understand that the future belongs to them, and begin to reorientate their mind. One of the things I try to do very well is reorientating their mind, their mindset. Because who are their mentors? Who are the people? Who are the people they're looking up to? Politicians. And if you look at the lifestyle of our politicians, it's a bit deceitful. Yeah. It's not real. Yeah. It's imaginary. Everybody wants to be a politician. For example, in Nigeria today, if you ask a young kid what they want to be, it's only a politician. Why? Because you see them, the way they spend money, the way they live their lifestyle, the way they do things. But those things don't have base. They have no solid base. Yeah. Take them out of that political scene, 1 year down the line, you won't like to see them again. So we need to lecture, we need to talk to them and let them understand that it's a reset, mindset reset. Let them understand that even that guy who is living large as a politician, they didn't start yesterday. Honestly, for you to succeed in life, regardless of whatever area you find yourself, time, you must have spent a lot of time in doing that before you begin to reap the dividends. The dividends don't come overnight. But you see, because of the values, we have lost our values so much so in Africa. I don't know. I think we have lost our values. So the values today is we want to make money today. Okay, I told you the story of me and my brother. Yeah. If my father did not come to reset my value, I would have been gone. I want to be richer than my brother.
Yeah. You wanted to be richer than your brother, who was already rich, and you are learning
who's been working, doing business all this time. Yeah. And I just came out from school. Yeah. And I want to be richer than my brother. Yeah. It's not bad to be, my uncle said, it's not bad to be a shoemaker. What is bad is making bad shoes. Do you hear that?
Yeah, you're right.
So it's not bad to be ambitious, but it's bad to be over ambitious.
Yes.
You just have to be ambitious for you to succeed in life.
So it's not bad to be a shoemaker?
It's not bad to be a shoemaker. What is bad is making bad shoes.
Bad shoes.
When you are a good shoemaker, you can become a designer shoemaker. Yeah. And everybody will come to you and flock to you, right? Yes. But when you're a bad shoemaker,
and Emperor Chris,
and everybody want to be like, and everybody will be envious of you. Yeah, yeah. But when you're a bad shoemaker, you know what people do? Ah, that man, leave him. He don't know anything what they do. Yeah. He doesn't know what he's doing. Forget him. But when you are now a good shoemaker, you begin to export. Yeah. You become everybody's darling, and people want to emulate you. Yeah. So, I tell you something. It's good to be ambitious, but it's not good to be over-ambitious. Wow. Because when you're over-ambitious, you might do that one that might land you in jail so quickly. Yeah. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yes.
So
that will be the end of you.
Then that will be the end of you. So, it's one step at a time. Johnny Walker. Johnny Walker says, a journey of 1,000 miles starts with a step. Yeah. But you know what? That step does not guarantee you're going to reach to that destination. Yeah. Continuous working will ensure you get to that stage. So, I think that as we grow older, we must encourage our young people, reorientate them, reorientate their values. Yeah. reset their value set, their value systems.
Yes.
So that they see
the value belief system.
The value belief system, so that they begin to see that there's dignity in labor. A good number of us don't believe anymore in dignity in labor. All right, they just want to. Maybe people trying to, leave the country, either they're crossing one blue ocean, or crossing one dry desert to get to the so-called promised land. Who says it's a promised land? So our leaders, again, need to make our environment very conducive for our young ones. Yeah. And then if you don't have any nation without a young people, it's a doomed nation. Yeah. And Africa is so proud to have this young burgeoning population. Yeah. What do? You have to make conscious effort. Like I keep telling them, we wrote a book, Baywood Foundation, it's called Beyond Rhetoric. And we initiated something called Intern and Return. What do I mean by intern and return? When you train these young lads and give them opportunities to be interns in various locations, okay? And government sets aside what they call internship fund to pay them while they are doing the internship in all spheres of life. That is one sure way to stimulate their knowledge, stimulate their appetite, and begin to see things differently. So, and it's a policy. As a matter of fact, what we ask for in that book is a declaration, affirmative action. We ask for 35% affirmative action across all Africa on youths. And what do I mean by affirmative action on youths? In other words, here in Uganda, for example, I've seen young women and young people in positions of authority. So what we advocate for is that this affirmative action needs to be legislated and gazetted and endorsed. As a matter of fact, the African Union, when we met with them, endorsed it, and what they needed was to just meet with the various legislative assemblies across the 54 African nations and see how they can buy into this thing and adopt an internal return initiative. And Baywood Foundation, in partnership with African Union, have promised to put the initial seed money to do such initiatives and kickstart it. And one other way to stimulate the youth, I said, is to have an endowment fund or prize money or prize award for youths across Africa that have achieved in various spheres of life. Because these guys have achieved. Have you identified them? Because when you begin to reward these young ones and appreciate them and consider them as part of the main society, because what is happening today, like if you would see what is going on in Nigeria today, there's almost a youth revolution because they are tired, okay? Because they're not part of the system. They're not meant to be part of the system. These guys have emasculated them from the system. They are taking hold of everything. If you look at throughout the length and breadth of Africa, look at our presidents. They are all in their 80s, okay? Are they more smarter now? No. Are they in tune with the technology? No. Are they thinking about how to move the country, the nation forward or the continent forward? No. Can they be more radical? No. Because we need radicalism in a bit of things we do to change, to reset the continent, okay? I was listening to a program where some young lads in Europe were pushing for Macron to stop the ECOP project in Uganda. What do they know about Africa? So if we have a very united, formidable African Union that can come up with a very big voice and say, listen, can you even keep your money? We don't need your money. Yeah. We donate funds and have a pool of funds where we can tap into to develop our natural resources. Okay, so this is what I'm saying. So Intern and Return initiative for African youth is what Baywood Foundation is still advocating, because that's the only way we can put Africa and make them to be a continent to be sought after. We have the smart youth, we have very intelligent youth, we have youth tech savvy. If you come to Nigeria today, one of the things that is raving is tech startups. These tech startups are young ones. 20, 25, 30, coming out with different, genuine ideas. All they need is a little pep, and that's what you call this little pep, like what we did in the program with Coca-Cola. The first time that Baywood Foundation ever got grant was Coca-Cola giving us $100,000 to do a program we call Youth ICT and Skill Acquisition Project, YISAP. You can go to our website, Baywood Foundation, and find YISAP, YISAP. What we do was to gather youths from all parts of the state and train them in different skills. Okay? We have certain set skills we train them in those skills, and give them, and then on the final day, they exhibited their skills. They produced those things that they did, they created those things that they did, and it became and displayed their wares in the market, and people bought them, right? But in doing that, we gave them some seed funds to start off.
Not just saying go and
no,
start
no, no.
this,
So
go and
out
start
of,
this.
out of 600 or 1,000 people that were trained in different skills, we selected 100 or 200 people that were given seed money. So this is what I'm saying. In every society, if you don't make such policies and drive those policies down, and it has to be driven by a youth, not when you set up a commission like that, you go and get some guy that's 80 years to man it. No, you got to be a youth of 30 who will drive the stage, because these guys, they're thinking differently from the way we're thinking today, and they're tech savvy. Listen, they can, when even you go agro-based, they can do a lot of things with agro, okay? Deploying technology, deploying skills. We're talking about large-scale farming. They can even do green farming, greenhouse farming. Yeah. And the greenhouse farming, you don't need even a large footprint to do a greenhouse, okay? But you produce as much, and even well-controlled environment. You produce as much healthy fruits and agro-based products than you would have done using massive agro-based. Of course, you need to do mechanized farming. But you know what? Get these guys to buy into the future, and it has to be driven by their own people. And what we're saying about intern and return is that even in National Assembly, wherever you have somebody like a 50-year-old guy, you need to bring someone like a 30-year-old guy to understand him. Yes. And in understanding him, you're paying him from the internship fund, okay? That thereafter is either he continues with what he is doing as an intern, or he goes out. By then, he would have gained knowledge, he would have made contact, he would have had his own network group and all stuff like that. So this is what we're thinking, and this is the way to really, really develop the African youth. And this is what Beirut Foundation is all about, championing for over 17 years. And it's born out of passion. It's about us speaking, because I know that if you don't have a safe environment, you can be as rich as you are, but if your neighbor is not happy, is not hungry, you are unsafe. So create a safe environment by making sure that people are around you. And that's why my role model was Nelson Mandela. And that's why I love his quote. He said, it's not about how long you lived on earth, but how much you have impacted on lives of people. Do you understand what I'm saying? It's not about how successful you are. So for me, I think one of the things that I pride myself for is that you don't need to have billions to be a philanthropist, right? I did it, and I found the secret to success. It's giving. And it's not about how much you give. It's about how you're able to get people to have a reset and begin to think differently. So I'm a proponent of that we have to bring our youth forward, both in politics, in all spheres of life, in business, but you need to train them. You need to create funds in everything we do, and we don't carry these young guys along. Someday will come, and they will rise up against us. And you know what? When we had EndSARS in Nigeria, and it was in Lagos, I don't know if you read about EndSARS. Yes. By the special grace of God, I'm one of the bourgeois, right? In Lagos and Nigeria. I was so afraid of myself. I was so afraid of everything around me. Because when an eruption like that engulfs, they don't know who's speaking for them. They don't know. It's like you are one of the oppressors. Do you understand what I'm saying? So you can become a target that you shouldn't have been. So why don't we nip this situation on the board before it balloons, okay, and out of control? So there was a lot of destruction, and they were going after the rich people. These rich people. And who are these rich people? It could have been a Baywood who had worked all his life, trying to make money legitimately, not being involved in any scam, not being involved in anything that is illicit, okay? And then even giving back to the society. But my dear brother, when a situation like that occurs,
it's indiscriminatory.
It's indiscriminatory.
Because they're not thinking.
Yeah, they're not thinking. Yeah. Everybody's a target. And I don't want to be that, because I will regret it. So my position is, the earlier we nip the situation on board, the better for everybody. And together we can make Africa forward and move this nation, this continent, to where we expect it to be. We can't do it. We need these guys. But we need to reorientate their values. We need to reset their values, because the values is completely eroded right now. And in doing so, we need to reorientate ourselves again. Our value system is no more.
Ladies and gentlemen, Emperor Chris Beywood Ibe. Thank you very much. This has been one of the most powerful interviews that we've done on the CEO bench. And as we depart from here, question, in a second, tell us a joke.
A joke.
A joke that has ever been given about your name, Emperor, and how you reacted to it, if at all. And give us one African proverb from Nigeria.
Well, I don't know. You see, people think that I just woke up and became emperor. That's okay, no problem. But it's a story for another day. But I always tell you, if you want to know about the emperors, that's a book you need to go and read. It's called God, Pope, and Emperor. So you know the origin of emperor.
Wow.
God, Pope, and Emperor. So,
Yeah.
one thing about this, it connotes reality, and if you want to be an emperor, you have to live up to it, right? You have to live up to it. So, I think I'm living up to my title, emperor, and I make good to say that unless you visit me in Nigeria, you may not know that I'm a true emperor. And I'm a benevolent emperor, because emperors are known for draconian rules and the Gestapo style of doing things. I am not that one. I'm this benevolent emperor. Emperors don't talk about giving back. So I could better be described as a refined emperor who talks for the people, especially the downtrodden and the young people. So that's what I should be remembered. One of the things I want to be remembered for when I'm gone is, how many lives have you touched? It's not how much money I have. No. It's not how much. Are you the biggest billionaire in the world? No. Yes, even if I'm the biggest billionaire, but how much lives have I touched? And that's my prayer, that as God continues to bless us in what we do, we have to leave our footsteps on the sands of times, so that I'll be counted amongst those who have to alleviate poverty. I have to touch lives. And you know what it means to shake a young man who never thought that he could come close to you. That's mentorship, right? And they wouldn't touch you unless you get close to them, right? So you must break that barrier so that they come close to you, make yourself available, that they can come and talk to you. Something happened during the conference in Uganda where I participated. A lot of youths came to me, a lot of young ones, because of my contribution. I couldn't just carry on like Emperor Chris Beywood, but I was ready to mingle. I was ready to talk with them. I was ready to impart this knowledge and get them to be to be appreciated. And you know, they felt so happy that, this guy, so he's accessible. Just a handshake. How are you? How you doing? What are you doing? Blah blah blah. These things, they go a long way to help and motivate people. So it's why I am a motivational speaker. Put me on the table there, and I'll teach the young lads how to turn things around.
Wow. Ladies and gentlemen, the CEO bench has come to an end. Edio Killer, Emperor Chris Beywood Ibe, all the way from Enugu State in Nigeria, the federal state of Nigeria. We want to say thank you very much. Until next time, we're saying bye.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Emperor, for coming.
Three, two, one.
A wise man once said, "The future has a name, and its name is hope. A tiny flicker of light that feeds on hope is enough to shatter any shield of darkness." At Mandulis, we really believe in this. We're a clean energy company that also focuses on agricultural value addition to help improve the lives of farmers in rural Africa. Something that's close to my heart, having grown up in these communities. I was born in northern Uganda, in such communities that we've seen today. I spent my early childhood running around these roads. You know, I've lived this, but so has almost every other Ugandan, because 80% of us are linked to the ground through farming. And now what today has been about is figuring out how farming can not only be productive for food, but rather how farming can be productive for the entire ecosystem and the economy. How crops once grown can have residues that can be turned into energy to process those same crops, can be turned into energy to cook those same crops, and can be turned into that flicker of light that can shatter any shield of darkness, economically, developmentally, and otherwise.
I am Jean-Baptiste Fauvel. I work as a program manager at the EU delegation to Uganda, and I'm in charge of working on inclusive green economy. Inclusive green economy is one of two focal sectors of the EU's development cooperation with Uganda, so we have allocated a significant amount of resources to advancing this agenda of promoting inclusive green economy in line with the government's ambitions in this regard, because Ugandan authorities have launched the Ugandan Green Growth Development Strategy end of 2017, and we are keen on supporting this. This visit to the pilot projects implemented by Mandulis in the Gulu district, Gulu region, has been a very interesting experience for me, a learning experience, because I'm not familiar with gasification, the gasification of biomass, and the many interesting technologies implemented by Mandulis here. So I've learned a lot, and I am extremely grateful to Peter and his colleagues for showing this and the very inspiring message conveyed to us visitors.
What's interesting about this project, what I've learned from Mandulis, is that they are covering the missing link in rural electrification. And that missing link is that, you know, we try to electrify people, and it always requires subsidy. What they're bringing is they're connecting the value chains, the agricultural value chains, the groundnuts, the rice, the maize, and this value chains, which are worth a lot of money. They're using the waste from these value chains to make energy, which returns resources to the community. And this has not been done successfully in East Africa yet. So this is a really exciting project. And so what my plan and what I'll be working on is to try and help them finalize the business so that it's investable in a way that they can grow to meet all 16 of the target areas.
I'm telling you that take this stove, okay, take this shigiri, go home, after you've made your muchama, and you've eaten and you've enjoyed yourself, I'll buy back the ash from you. That is crazy, but it's what makes you now say, okay, maybe I should switch, because if I calculate the amount of money, let's assume you're buying 1 ton a year, and that 1 ton you're spending about 500,000 shillings, and let's say you're getting about a quarter of a ton at the end of the year, 250 grams, 250 kilos, that's 5 bags of charcoal. How much is 5 bags of charcoal? You're like, okay. So if you're spending 500,000 and you're earning 100,000 from your waste at the end of the year, in a rural environment, that's covering 2 terms of school for 1 kid. So it gives that incentive to switch, because you're saying, look, it's still wood, but this is cleaner. It doesn't beat the environment. It's cheaper, but more importantly, it is an income stream for you as a family.
I have been very impressed by what I've seen. It's been very inspiring, and I will be very keen on exploring whether and how we could maybe support Manduli's ambitions in the future. I will share my takes with colleagues in Kampala, and we will explore what can be done.
The EU has been a strong partner of Uganda in many different fields, from infrastructure to development to others. And I feel it's crucial for them to see how what we're doing fits in within their plans and Uganda's plans.
The farmers are ready. The farmers are ready for someone to come in and make this happen. So we go back to what we need is rural electrification. What we need is we need markets for food crops. The markets for food crops are there, and the opportunities for rural electrification are there, and the farmers are willing to participate. So what surprised me, it didn't surprise me, but is how knowledgeable they are. Mandulis, I think, has raised the awareness, but they're ready to participate, and they understand that they have a role to play in this great activity.
And I'm impressed as well at the potential of this region in terms of agriculture and agro-processing. Just have a look at what's around the landscape. You can see how fertile this land is and how much potential there is for such initiatives as those promoted by Mandulis. So I am confident that there is a big potential for agro-processing industries in the future, and of course the gasification of bio-waste is one of them.
This is a beautiful area. This is a wealthy area. When I heard about Gulu, I had no idea. I kind of thought northern Uganda was very dry, and I didn't really know what to expect. And so when I got here, what I've seen is a very rich area, a lot of crops, a lot of farmers, a lot of young people looking for things to do. And so I think that the agricultural value is here. So what surprised me is the amount of agricultural activity and the potential here.
It was fantastic. I was very much impressed by how welcoming and friendly the local communities are, especially here in Paminolango. We were treated with a fantastic singing and dancing show, which I will keep in my mind for a long time. I think it was fantastic, and I'm very grateful to all those people, all those communities here for their fantastic welcome.
I have not had sorghum ugali like that for a really long time. I mean, in Nairobi we get maize ugali, but sorghum ugali, and then the local food here is just fantastic. I'll also talk about the music. That was like the best village orchestra that I've seen in a long time. So the food and the music, that was like a cherry on top of the experience, and so I'm really looking forward to working on this project.
We wanted our guests to experience the warm welcome of the culture in rural Uganda, especially in this part of rural Uganda. So we had everything from Malakwang to Bo to Lakorokoro, to Odi to Olel, all the food that's grown just down the road from here. And they've eaten it right here. Everything, even those who had the chickens are grown here, and they've been fed on the maize bran and rice bran, and everything's from around the corner. Fresh food, natural food, cooked with a lot of care and a lot of love for everyone, and a lot of welcoming warmth.
I want you to start by telling us, how did you think about starting Marketing Africa? What was the inspiration behind it? And what is Marketing Africa all about as a company?
When I was at the university, we had a publication. It was called the Marketing Review. And we were able to publish that magazine and get 18 full-page adverts at that time, which was a first. I've never seen it up to today.
My name is Martin Anthony Nsubuga. I'm the CEO of Uganda Retirement Benefits Regulatory Authority. And I've served the institution until now, where I've grown to the position of the Chief Executive Officer. So I've seen UBRA since its establishment.
I was also the person who started the organization as interim CEO for the organization. My role was to set up the organization, and here we are.
It has been a really new experience in my life. As you may have heard, UBRA was non-existent. There was no formal regulatory environment for pensions or retirement benefits. So we are a pioneer. We were appointed to set up the architecture and the environment for regulation of retirement benefits and pensions.
So the Ministry of Finance, because I was the technical person really handling all these reforms, they asked me to come and set up this institution, which is the Retirement Benefits Regulatory Authority. So I was requested to start as interim Chief Executive Officer, which I did from the year 2012 to early 2015. It's been a great journey. When we started from scratch.
The journey of 10 years of UBRA started with an Act of Parliament of 2011, but actual operation started in 2012, and that's why we are celebrating 10 years today.
There was no institutional setup, there were no laws, there was nothing. So we started with the legal framework, putting in place the legal framework that establishes the supervisor or the regulator for the retirement benefits sector. Before then,
UBRA came into the market about 10 years ago. The first thing they did, right from their first offices at Communications House, was to take stock of the market. Who are the players? Who are the retirement players in the market? Who are the service providers? Which schemes are operating in the market? Service to note that there was already something happening in the market, even before UBRA came to play.
And because of that, there were Ponzi schemes, there were frauds and all those kind of things. There was no trust in the sector. So our primary objective was to build a system that would instill confidence in the general public.
I believe the journey has been very successful. We have a footprint now in the community, and that footprint is best exemplified by the growth of the pensions sector. When we were appointed, the pension sector savings were less than 5 trillion. Today they're approaching 20 trillion.
A number of proposals were carried to Parliament, and the biggest one was to actually put in place a sector regulator.
My role as a Member of Parliament when I came in 2001 was to make legislation. And one of the laws we have made is the UBRA Act, which basically came in to assist how to regulate the retirement pension funds, which were missing in this country. I'm proud that now we have over 19 trillion shillings in the pension fund. That's a very good contributor to national development. And in the future, I'm sure this money we shall not go to borrow. We shall use this money of the pension fund to really develop our country.
You would appreciate that this is not a small contribution for a sector that was not regulated. But overall, it was part of the global reforms that we are seeing in other countries in the pension sector.
To me, that's a plus for the authority.
And you can imagine in a very short time, in less than 10 years, we have over 19 trillion. It believes that within the next 5 years, we should be over 40 trillion.
To me, that is a plus for UBRA and a surety for the people of Uganda who save with these different schemes, knowing that somebody is there making sure that my money that I put in any scheme is safe, is protected.
So one of the main objectives was to safeguard the interests of the members. Now what this means is that the moment members' interests are safeguarded, their rights are protected, it then boils down to growth of the sector. Now, what we've seen in the last 10 years is that the sector, the assets under management have more than tripled. So within a span of 10 years, we're seeing a lot of efficiency in terms of members are able to get their benefits, they're able to access more information about their schemes. More importantly is the professionalism that has been injected in the sector.
There has been a deliberate effort to build trust because the foundation is strong, it can be trusted. And again, the investment structures are very solid, so which means they encourage the growth of the market, the growth of the portfolio, and also provide the positive returns that we see to date.
The last one that is significant, which I've seen UBRA doing, is promoting transparency. So to a member, that information creates trust within the member because you are saying, there's nothing I'm hiding. This is how we run the scheme in the year. There were 13 meetings, and this member of the board, out of 13, he attended 3.
In the saving schemes, there was no trust, there was no confidence, there was a lot of risk. Even the savers could not know how much their contributions were. Okay? In other words, everything was in a disarray without any regulator.
I think as well, looking generally at the business environment, you rarely now see complaints of people stating that the funds that they thought they had in their names have disappeared or have been paid to the wrong person. And all this is just because of the supervisory role that UBRA has brought in, which has been pivotal in making us run a world-class pension sector in Uganda.
There are 3 parts
to any pension system. There's the contributions or collections of pensions, there is the management of the pensions or the investment of these pension savings, and then there's the payment of these pension savings, either through a lump sum or through monthly payments. We have had a shared responsibility with UBRA for the past 10 years in the aspect of management of the savings through investments, because many of the fund managers whom we license are also licensed by UBRA. Although UBRA focuses a lot more on the pensions or the retirement savings that they manage. So we have done this role together, we've had this shared role. The synergies we have drawn from this partnership have been very beneficial, and we look forward to continuing to work together with UBRA in the future.
We see growth in number of schemes in this market. Today we are talking of 65 schemes. In the past we are talking of 3 schemes that were established by an Act of Parliament. That is the Public Service Pension Scheme, the Parliamentary Pension Scheme, and the NSSF, all of them established by an Act of Parliament.
More importantly is to say that the journey that UBRA has walked over the 10 years have been challenging, but also refreshing, in a sense that they came into a virgin market. There was no regulator before them, especially in the pension sector. So what they started with was commendable. Let's do a stock taking. Let's understand the market. Who is doing what in the market? So I think that phase helped UBRA create the visibility, create the identity for the first 3-4 years. Over the years, they've also been able to do publicity to kind of show the market, show the public that this is what we do, and especially as you plan for your retirement.
At least for the last 10 years, we've not had any corruption, loss of members' funds. We've also not had any poor investments, because investments are all known, structured, in particular known asset classes that provide a very good return to the member. And actually in this period in time, that's when the sector has witnessed high returns to the members, double-digit returns for the last 5 years or thereabout.
So, in my opinion, that is trust from the general public that we are doing the right thing, and we hope that we continue to do that.
In the next 10 years, what I would like to really see going forward is the spread of coverage, because the pension sector as it is now is really in the formal sector. And when you look at the working population of Uganda, if you even put it at around 20 to 25 million, the working population, not even 3 million are covered by pensions.
I think my main message to UBRA is, first of all, to thank the CEO, Mr. Martin Nsubuga, and his team for supporting the pension reforms that have taken place so far, but also to remind the team that there's still some work to be done. It's not over, there's still some reforms that need to be done, particularly in the area of limiting access to long-term savings. So Martin and team, please don't rest. There's still some more work to be done to grow the domestic savings base of this country.
We feel that as a committee, UBRA needs to make itself more visible in Uganda, place itself, let the people of Uganda know what they are doing, let the people of Uganda know why they should save for retirement.
If you were to ask me, what should UBRA's next 10 years focus on? I would say that UBRA's next 10 years should be to now build this 20 trillion asset base that has been generated, should actually be able to ensure a comfortable life in retirement for all members who are in the retirement schemes. But UBRA should also then allow and come up with mechanisms to support the players to be able to onboard all the smallholders, all the informal sector to come in and secure their retirement by participating and joining the licensed pension schemes in the market.
And so my thinking is that we need to support the institution, particularly Parliament of the Republic of Uganda, needs to support resource mobilization for allocation to the authority so that the authority can continue with the widening the coverage.
People now, instead of keeping money in boxes, will keep here, and it is in the financial sector, and it's easy to tap in. And the cost of money will go down, but our investment in the country will go high. And I can tell you, if you make very good regulations, we have the support of Parliament.
I believe that the next 10 years are quite pivotal. We've gone through the best building of the industry, and right now we are at the point where we have to be tasked with generating value for our clients and exhibiting relevance over the next 10 years. I'm very, very confident. In fact, I'm really proud of the work that has been done for the last 10 years, and my imagination runs wild. What is possible for the next 10 years?
And the other key achievement that or work in progress that UBRA is trying to do, which I again encourage different stakeholders in this sector, particularly Parliament, to support UBRA, is the coming up with a national micro pension scheme. Uganda is, our economy is largely informal, and even within the cities, we have so many people who are operating informally, and yet they earn income, either daily, either weekly or monthly. They earn income in one way or the other. But if not well guided, and I think this particular scheme, the micro pension scheme, would again help reorganize our people in the formal sector to put something aside. Because if you are in our market today, if you're a road vendor today, if you're a hawker today, if you're a border today, if you're a fisherman today, you still have that energy to go nearly every day in the waters and do fishing, to go to Nakawa market every morning to pick tomatoes, vegetables. But that strength with time, as years come by, begins to dwindle. That means the same basket that you can carry now, you are not able to carry in the next 5 years or 10.
So our focus, what really keeps us awake when I wake up in the morning, that drives my day, protection of members' funds.
So what I see going forward for the next 10 years is an organization that is efficient, that is creating value for the benefits. Efficiency meaning when I contribute, I must be guaranteed that 20 years from now, 30 years from now, when I retire, my money will be there. And ensuring that the monies that I contribute are invested in assets that will make my money grow. Not just putting in 1 shilling, and 20 years you're paid 1 shilling. When I put in 1 shilling, I should be paid 100 shillings at the end of 30 years. And that's the objective, and that's efficiency.
I think to the customer out there, who might not even think they are a customer because you ride a border, you are in the garden, you don't even have anything to your name, UBRA will find you wherever you are and will look after you, because it's their mandate to look after you in retirement. And they can only look after you in retirement if you avail yourself now. And all they want to do for you is to make sure that when you hang up your boots, when I hang up this jacket in retirement, UBRA wants me to live a fulfilled life, a life bereft of poverty, a life of joy and happiness. And UBRA works with people and different entities to deliver that. As service providers, I think we'd want to say congratulations again, UBRA. We feel the heat sometimes, but we are ready for the task.
As we celebrate, let's also remember that there are those who are not yet part of the saving culture, and we find ways of bringing them forward. I wish you a happy celebration.
As we celebrate 10 years of service protecting retirement benefits in this country, allow me to thank the Board of Directors of Uganda Retirement Benefits Regulatory Authority. You have been very instrumental and very focused. Allow me also to thank the staff and management of UBRA. You have supported the cause. Allow me also to thank my predecessors, the first interim CEO, Mr. Moses Bekavio, the Chief Executive Officer, my immediate predecessor, Mr. Bonyi David Nyakundi, the government of Uganda, who have supported us, providing us with all the resources that we need from the day UBRA started up to now, the regulated entities, the stakeholders, the fund managers, the custodians, the administrators. Without you, we would not be talking of structures of governance in this market. And of course, the members who are saving, who have trusted us, who have continuously saved with the different schemes. Allow me to assure you that as we deliberate on this direction for the next years of service, at UBRA, we shall continue to protect your retirement benefits. May God bless you. May God bless your families. May God bless our country, Uganda. Let us celebrate as we thank God.
It is a creative industry talk. My name is Eddie Okela and this is House of Talent Television. Welcome to the program. This week on the program, we bring you the story of those who are doing it in Uganda. And of course, we are always talking about local content development by Uganda, Build Uganda. Do we really understand what this means? Do we know what local content development means? Everyone is talking about it. And today on the program, we decided to focus mainly on the woodwork in Uganda. You know, the creative industry talk is talking about, you know, furniture building in Uganda. Do you buy Ugandan furniture? Do you have a Ugandan furniture in your building? Or are you all the way flying to China and to all these other places to have furniture from there? Yet you have people who are doing this woodwork in Uganda. On the program today, we focused their story and of course the interview to the young men who I found around the streets of Kampala. One day I was driving and I was looking for Ugandan furniture, and so I used to drive on the same road over and over, and I see this place and there's a couple of young people just doing their stuff, you know, crazy ideas and, you know, things put around the place, and I decided to give them a visit. It started raining, so I stood there for a couple of hours watching and seeing what was going on while I wait for a table to come to my office. And indeed, they made a table. So what I was looking for was, do they really understand what they're doing? Do they understand the art, you know, behind the creativity that they're actually, you know, involved in? And along the way, I realized that they just simply need, you know, somebody to believe in them. So we decided to bring them onto the program today so that we can enjoy the creative minds and the creative people of Uganda in the woodwork in Uganda, in the furniture business in Uganda. Ladies and gentlemen, all across the world, welcome you all to the Creative Industry Talk. And of course, my guest today is a man from the eastern part of Uganda. David Anderson Onyango was one of the people leading that particular business, you know, on that particular street in Kampala, Uganda, to the furniture business and supply in Kampala. David, welcome to the program. How are you doing? Here we spread the love. When you do this, you must spread the love. So you have to spread the love, yes. Welcome to the program, and I'm going to take off my glasses so that the creativity can start. First of all, we want to start from a very lighter note. Who is David Onyango?
Well, I am David Onyango Anderson. As you said, from the east, but born and raised of Kampala.
Okay.
I've roamed the streets of Kampala. I've seen my childhood through Kampala, my best and worst. And I am now a woodworker, a law student, and a mental health worker, all in one person.
Yes. So when you say you're now a woodworker and a mental health worker, but first we want to take you growing up. Who was David growing up? What did you want to be in life? What were you looking for in life growing up?
Well, growing up, I went to school in Chitante, right here. I was a very argumentative person. So I think law was always the option for me. But I was interested in art. as an option, as a main part of my life. I was interested in creating beautiful things because I saw beauty in the things I saw most of the times. So I think that explains my choices in both law, which is something I'm passionate about, and woodworking, which gives me the chance to create art physically and see it.
Okay. So we want to just, get straight to this interview and just try to sort of like know you from a certain, angle and with a certain lens. When you were growing up, did you ever make those wired cars, things we used to use when we were learning how to drive, making those things, were you that creative when you were growing up?
I was, actually.
What is the memorable thing that you think you created when you're growing up that when you look back today, you can say it all started from here?
I think it was around 2002. I created my first tipper with actually the ability to tip its content. All in the streets of Mulago, and it had lights, it had the tipping part.
Yes.
I refused to sell it off. I would sell a lot of items, but I kept that one for myself because I think it was the beginning of it.
Yes. Now, talking of that, did your father or your mother ever see you as a creative person?
Well, I grew up with my mother for most of the time, and as you know, life in Kampala, you don't really get time to be with your parents.
Yeah.
A lot of the times because they're always pulling ends together. But I think, I don't know if she saw it, but she gave us the freedom to explore.
Yeah.
She did not control us a lot.
Okay.
She controlled our behaviors, but she gave us the freedom to do our own things that were within her rating of moral and fine. So we had that chance. We could do this, as you said, small wire cars and sell them off, and she would let us use our money for our things. And I think that pushed us forward to know that, well, if you create something good, then you can get money from it. And I think the greatest motivation is always money at the end of the day.
You speak with the word plural, which means us. Who are we? Us referring to who? How many are you in the family, and are you the firstborn or the lastborn?
I am the second lastborn. Yeah. We are in a family of 4 children. Yeah. I have a bigger brother, I think, who comes up more in the plural form. I have a sister who is a graphic designer. Still, I think art is in the family in a way.
Yes.
And my big brother was the inspiration into woodwork at the main part, because there's a bigger age gap, so he went into the business before me, and he pulled me into it. But even in the start, I mean, he inspired me a lot.
Okay. Talking of that, we are talking to David Onyango here. We're talking about woodwork. This entire interview today on the Creative Industry Talk, we're talking about furniture in Kampala, furniture in Uganda, furniture in Africa. Do Africans buy their own furniture? Do we buy things made from our own people? Do we sit in things made by our own people? Today's topic is looking at the local content development, focusing on Ugandan made furniture. And of course, we have David Anderson Onyango from he's the business development director at, formerly it's called Arc Furniture, but now it's called Chronicle Furniture. I learned this morning, Oracle Furniture, I learned this morning. And it's a new business. They are situated on Bukoto Kisasi Road. And these guys do amazing stuff. So we brought them on the show today so that you can actually understand that there are some simple Ugandans creating local content that are good for our businesses. David, we want to go back to this interview and start this interview from a very interesting point. So let's talk about woodwork. Furniture, Ugandan made furniture. What is your definition of a Ugandan made furniture?
Well, my definition of Ugandan made furniture has expanded a bit the deeper I went into the industry. Initially, Ugandan made furniture was woodwork. It had to be woodwork. But the creative minds that we are, Ugandans, we've expanded. We've expanded into the medium density fiber boards, that is MDF ordinarily. We've expanded into reclaimed wood furniture, where we have the pallet furniture. So it has really grown. But to me, the definition would be that it's a piece made by a Ugandan in Uganda and with our own creativity here, because we have a different scope of creativity from everyone else.
All right, very good. And what is your understanding of Buy Uganda, Build Uganda? We are always talking about Buy Uganda, Build Uganda. What is your understanding of Buy Uganda, Build Uganda, Bobo?
Well, Buy Uganda, Build Uganda, I think this is what employs us as Ugandans to come back to our to develop and support our own pieces of furniture here, our own items here, made by our creativity and our materials. And it pulls us back to understand that we are going to receive furniture that has been made based on our ability as Ugandans, but feel proud of it because it is made here by our own and from our own materials.
Talking of that, David, most times we think that, you know, when we're looking to buy a bed, I go to Nina Interiors of this world, I go to big time furniture shops to, you know, to get a bed. But also there are these guys on the roadside for low cost housing conditions, furniture where people usually just go to, you know, buy their bed for at that area. But we tend to think about validation and the point of buying furniture from the sense that I want imported furniture. That is when I feel that I have spent my money right. Having started this business, what motivated you to move towards it and why? Why yet the odds against you are quite too you know, straight that I will go to Mina Interior to buy furniture from, or I will go to slightly you know, moderate, you know, place to buy furniture from there because I want to, you know, there's this notion that a Ugandan made furniture is not good.
Well, my main motivation was and still is the fact that when I look at the furniture from the what you call the high class sell places, I don't see any difference. They actually work a lot on budget. So our local furniture, our local carpenters here do produce items, let's say a bed, using the same materials, the same quantity of wood and even more, and waste it. But because they demand so less from themselves, they keep it at a given rate of quality. They don't demand, they didn't seek to compete with they had actually quoted themselves as the lower end and gotten satisfied with that.
All right, you guys are coming in to sort of like redefine the thinking that has always been there of we can make the Ugandan wood look good, and you know, a person can be more prouder to, you know, buy from Uganda and even custom make something to their taste. How has that journey been like, and how are Ugandans responding to that creativity?
Initially, it was hard, really hard, because most of these people, when they get their money, they want to go and buy this piece. I mean, buy it, take it home, and then they're done with that purchase. And sometimes, due to less capital, the manpower, you need the time to actually create this. So first of all, you demand something which is very rare from someone, and that is first of all trust and time. And these are very valuable at the same time. So it's really been a challenging journey, trying to get people to trust you and then give you the time.
Okay, so having gotten people to trust you and get to this level, let's talk about your first customer when you started. The very first day you guys walked out to start something. What did you create for a customer? Did you create for yourself? How did you start?
Initially, we actually worked from our own home. So we depended on our own contacts. We began with friends. First with family, then friends. Then my own realization was that the recommendations are better at the end of the day. So we began getting the recommendations until, well, it became a bit hard to invite someone to your home to show them furniture. So you had to now think of a location. And that is how the journey started. And the trust came from people who knew us, because they knew we had something to lose more than money itself.
Yeah.
And then the other strangers that trusted us because they trusted someone else.
Yes.
Until we've reached at an extent
Yeah.
where we are able to at least now attract trust without a middle person and without prior knowledge of the person.
Okay. David, just before we go for a break, would you quantify and qualify that as being, that very last part of it says, as being, attributed to the fact that when you did something, the person you made for felt happy and felt like, I can recommend these people? Or how did you get to that point of building trust? Because trust in the foundation of business, globally, economy is built on trust. I trust you, I give you business, I trust that you take my creative thinking and turn it into a reality, and you give me this furniture that when I sit in, if it's a chair, I feel good. If it's a table, I feel nice to sit and take my cup of coffee or eat food. If it is bed, when I go to sleep, I feel comfortable that this is something I thought about how I wanted the bed to be like, and I went to David with my creativity, and he turned around my creativity into a reality.
Well, definitely, it is because we've been able to pay back these people's consideration, the customers' consideration, exactly the way they give it back. Take for example, when most of the times, first of all, when someone trusts you and then they give you the time, so one thing they don't want is an excuse, so you keep it out of the equation. And then there's also the ability to own up to a mistake, because you can't eradicate them. But every time you own up to a mistake, it gives you the relationship between the customer and the maker and the seller a sort of a new fresh page to begin from, because it is not something everyone does.
Okay. We're talking to David Anderson Onyango from the Oracle Furniture Limited, straight out of Kampala from the Bukoto, Kisasi Road, and these guys do amazing stuff. You need to check them out. They're on the Creative Industry Talk. We are going to take a break, and when we come back, the interview with David will continue while we dive into the whole point of creativity. What is creativity by his understanding, and does what he does every single day represent the whole heart of creativity? Furniture, Ugandan made furniture. Do you have a furniture in your house, by the way? If you don't have one, perhaps you need to consider these guys. All of us dream big, but you must have somebody who can bring your dream into a reality. Stay right there. I'll be right back after the break. This is the Creative Industry Talk.
If you create a space which enables people to think and thrive, that's a bonus. Before I started working officially, I used to do a lot of freelance work. And as a young freelancer, my laptop was on my back. And I didn't have an internet connection. I didn't have an office desk. It was difficult for me to work at home. So what I did is I would go and sit in a restaurant, buy some tea or breakfast, and ask for a Wi-Fi password. And then I would sit there and have my breakfast slowly, as I did my work, and I sent work to clients and everything, But before long, lunchtime, it would be lunchtime, and they would
be forced to eat also.
They would bring you lunch menu. You see what I mean?
Yes.
So when you find a space where people can come and sit and pay for a full day.
10,000, I'm told.
Yes, you see, that is creativity.
Yeah.
Because the owner of this building or the owner of this space knows that people, there's a certain segment of the market that can't afford to rent a premises per square meter or 10 square meters or 100 square meters and pay monthly and bring their own furniture, their own internet connection, carpeting, light and everything, a working bathroom, and then lunch for staff members. So they think about it creatively and they say, how many people can this space take? 100 people per day. Okay, good. If each of those people pays 10,000 per day, and they come and have access to the internet and a nice chair and a desk and a good environment where they can concentrate and deliver. That is brilliant. That is creativity in the workplace.
It is a creative industry talk, and welcome back to the program. In the studio, we are talking to David Anderson Onyango from Oracle Furniture Limited. David, welcome back to the program. David, a lot of time when I am dreaming, everyone in life dreams of something good, something, you know, fantastic, something, you know, nobody wants to live a poor life, you know, and we believe that everybody is born creative. We all aspire to have something good in life. Furniture is one of those things that we want to have at home. Nobody wants to be in a house that doesn't have good chairs or good beds, or you know, or a TV stand and stuff like that. We want to talk to you about creativity from the point of how you take my creative thinking and turn it to a reality that becomes the table or become the TV stand that I use at home. And most times, you know, carpenters in Uganda, all world over, they always say that if a carpenter is too good to produce something for you, then they are too difficult to deal with. They take too long to produce the stuff. Typically, take us through the process of you taking my thinking and turning it into a reality dream of a furniture, of a table that I need to have home. And how long does it typically take? Because sometimes you take way too long that people get frustrated. That's why we go for imported wood.
Well, it is very true, and it is a great challenge to, I think, the furniture industry generally. And I think that is what gives a lot of platform to those people that sell finished products.
Yes.
But for custom woodworkers, first of all, you have to understand that the time is not negotiable. The time of production, actually, the process through which this item is supposed to be produced cannot be altered. Usually the altering comes with its own effects. So first of all, it takes honesty to please tell the customer or the person ordering that after this description, it will take this time. And I think while you give the time, you need to put an allowance for yourself based on how busy you are. So the biggest challenge with oftentimes in the furniture industry, they call it the technical curse.
Yes.
Because the more skilled someone is, then they develop the pride first of all. Then they develop the fact that they are irreplaceable. They're like, you will go and then you will come back. And so that is not a business mind.
Yes, yes,
but for a person that wants to do both woodwork as a passion and as a business, you have to balance through these things. You have to balance through these things. You have to keep enough pride so that you don't let a customer push you into a shorter time when you know it is impossible to fulfill. And then you have to lower the pride a bit to be able to alter and know that the customer is key. And you are going to need them either through a recommendation or a second job. So when you balance the two, you treat the customer right, you treat the furniture right, and then you receive their ideas, but still you don't alter the carpentry principles, the woodworking principles, because the customer is ordering. You have to maintain the principles, and that way you produce the exact same thing and the perfection that they seek, which pushes them to come back.
Okay. David, do you think that is the same process that everyone out there goes through? Because, well, you have an education clearly to yourself, and there are these people who just learned the skill from the street. They are creative people. They started from there. They are able to do something great for themselves, but they don't have a business mind. How would you help such a person have a business mind and turn around? You know, while we're talking about the local content creation for, you know, buy Uganda, build Uganda.
Exactly. I think historically, woodworking has been passed on, carpentry has been passed on through apprenticeship. So that is the biggest challenge. You learn the skill, you don't get the business skill because the teacher wants to keep their customers.
Yes.
But then, due to the current development, we have the technical schools teaching carpentry. They're teaching the theoretical part, but they are indulging less business. And then the business methods they indulge in are also less practical. They have been written in books. They have not been actually applied sometimes. So I think one needs to first of all learn the dynamics. Consider carpentry as a business, as a trade. And the rules of trade are the same regardless of which trade you're going in. We have standard rules that don't change. So currently, I think it is something I took upon myself, and in our kind of business, we do have apprentices, by the way. We do take in students. They learn, especially through the lockdown. We've had a lot of them coming in and to take on the skill. But we always give them 1 or 2 days in a month where they come into the selling desk and they get to see what it means to actually do the sale. You don't have to be on the planer all the time, on the circular saw. You need to know that after the circular saw, this customer doesn't know it exists. How do you inform them that it is the step that is going forward on their object? And then we've opened up the industrial part of pack carpentry to the customers. They're actually very thrilled when they see how these things are done.
Yeah, so you actually take them in and show them the process, like they say, process by process, process by process, how these things are doing. Yes, exactly. So you take them through. So when a customer goes behind and sees this process by process of the woodwork going, when you look at them, what are they seeing at that point, and what is their response when you finally deliver this final piece to their home or to their sitting room or to their offices? Yeah.
Well, they're always very thrilled. It is surprising, even to some of us sometimes. Yeah. Sometimes someone will order something custom, and then you make a work plan, and then you sit and you're like, is this achievable?
But it's a creativity from you.
Exactly. And then as the process goes on, there are customers who have, before the process, who ask for pictures of the process. And then even ourselves take pictures of the process sometimes. And then sometimes you move to a certain level and you call your fellows, and then this is how it's turning out. Okay. And then there's advice. And then when the customers also come in and they look at it, they're like, is that really going to come out? And you're like, wait. And the thrill after they see it coming out, it creates a different set of attachment to this. Some customers have asked for please, can you bring it and I assemble it myself? They want to feel like they're now part of this production team, the production of this item, and they talk about it a lot of times, and it keeps them coming back to the workshop. Some of them have indulged their children into this woodworking just because of how they saw it move. And now the availability of power tools has improved a lot. Yeah. It has improved the whole process. It has made it more conducive for the customers to see and for us to work. The environments we work in are less cluttered, and that is.
So it's not woodwork as we used to know back in the days, where the guy would be, with a nail banging things and trying to turn around things, and it's more professional now. It's more like you're saying that we're learning from you. There's more, electronic tools that have come in that has made this kind of creativity quite very easy. David, that's really fascinating to hear that the customer is involved in the process. So do you think having the customers involved in this process is beginning to change the mindsets of Ugandans, of Africans, that yes, we can make this ourselves, yes, we can make our own furniture, yes, we can make beautiful things, yes, we can turn around our living spaces, and to something that we enjoy to be in, that I can actually be creative and see my room, my little room like this, and think about how this is going to be here, that's going to be there, and I walk to a carpenter and make this, become a reality. Do you think that is improving as the time goes? And where do you see us in the next, couple of years from now?
Well, it's really improving a lot. It has helped a lot. First of all, for the customers to set realistic goals, because as they discuss with the woodworkers, you get to exchange the impossibilities and the possibilities. See, I want this, but well, that kind of wood you want cannot achieve this particular goal. Yeah. So if you want that as an end result, you have to come into this type of wood. And then the advantages and differences and disadvantages of each type of wood. I'll give a live example. If you want a white item to be in color white, a piece of furniture to be in color white, it is more difficult to use a muvule piece of wood, because muvule is naturally yellow. So if you paint white on it, the yellow will always come out.
Yes,
so
yes.
these kind of lessons to customers has made it more easy, and it has also helped the industry grow a lot. It is now more interactive, and interaction has always yielded good fruits, because in that way you get to know each other's challenges and work ways around them every time you're doing transactions with those people.
Okay, so I've seen there are people who come up with good ideas. They have an understanding of what they're looking for as a place, or as a wood, or as a furniture to have at home. And in most cases, they say, I want a black and green and yellow furniture at the same time. Do you always advise them, you know, like, do you go to somebody's house and say, look, the kind of furniture you want, looking at the space you have and looking at the colors that you have in the house will clash, and maybe you'll have to have this? And do customers usually respond to it? Because I see also another side where people are so obsessed with the, you know, spraying things and putting different colors. Natural things like the ones we have in the studio here is not very much, you know, looked at as beauty, you know. How do you deal with that? Do you advise them, or do they just come and say, I want a green table, give me a green table, and you give them? Like you've said, Muvule is yellow. If you paint white, it's not going to come out very well. How do you go through that process of turning around the customers', you know, crazy creative ideas into a beautiful idea?
Well, it depends on how much the customer invites you in.
Yes.
We have customers that will pack up and then say, please, can I steal you away for 30 minutes?
Yeah.
I want to show you something, and then you can advise me.
Okay.
Now, when you give me that kind of platform, I'm going to advise you without even considering how much money I make. Well, sometimes someone will come to you and then they're like, I want a Mugavu TV stand, but I want it wall mounted. But you see, a Mugavu TV stand is going to be extra kilograms.
Yes.
So
if you mount it on the wall and your wall is not strong, basically you're saying it will come down.
It is going to come down.
Yeah. So how do you help them achieve such,
sometimes,
unrealistic goals?
Yeah, most of the time, you do advise them. Yeah. If you want to wall mount, you're going into, you can go into something lighter. We have other lighter pieces of wood, and they look beautiful too. And we can tone them in different ways. Usually wood has a lot of its own tonation, but then when we are going to tone it artificially, we prefer the lighter varieties, the musambias, the pine. Well, pine has been embraced very much because of the environmental impact of the other hardwoods. We have pine, we're reclaiming with cypress. But you do advise the customer very much, and if they really came into a custom shop and they knew where they were coming, they'll just try to modify their ideas based on your advice, and then you can come up with a consensus on what exactly is going to work for them. And then the other idea is the idea of people taking custom measurements. This is your house, so if you want a TV stand, from where to where do you want it to run? So I'll advise you.
Wow. Well, we're talking to David Onyango, who is the business development director of Oracle Furniture Limited, a company based in Uganda. Started by local Ugandans, very young people. As you can see David here, the people he leads are very young. Fascinating to see that, David, you are actually a law student into furniture. I mean, usually putting on a very good necktie and being, called land friend is more respectable to some people out there than being called a carpenter law student. I mean, how do you balance the two? Why the woodwork and the law,
Well, for me, I think I loved being able to create things every time. And when I went into law, I knew I had the power to create words, to change them and alter them, to determine new things, and do different things with my mouth, with how I speak and how I write. Yeah. So I had one part of my creativity that I had not tampered with, and that is the physical, creating something I can actually see. That is why I decided to have the same combination. Funny story, when I finished with my A-level, and I had a sponsor actually, and he engaged me on what the way forward was. I told him I have two options. See, I'm going into law school, or I'm going into carpentry school. I said, but well, those are not two options. That is one. You're going into law school.
Yes.
I said, okay, then that is law school. So I went into law school, but the passion did not go away. So I brought myself back into carpentry personally after chasing after law, and I'm still chasing after it. And the carpentry has been able to pay for, you know, the expenses of law school. In excesses. It pays, it maintains me, and it has given me a chance to show a lot of other young people like me that we can do this. Well, you may not have two options like me. You may have one, which is law. You may have one, which is woodwork. You don't have to stay into one. You don't fix into one. You can go into each of your options, or you can take them on as a bunch. The human brain has the ability to do both.
Wow. Well, we are talking to David Anderson Onyango, and this is a Creative Industry Talk where we discuss Ugandan local content specifically and directly, you know, focused on, you know, local content development on woodwork and specifically on Ugandan-made furniture. How do you find Ugandan-made furniture? We're going to be showing you some really good furnitures out there made by these guys in people's homes from their workshop. We want to make sure that everybody who is out there and is a creative mind, you know, find this platform quite a very interesting platform for them to be part of. And of course, creativity and coffee goes all together, David. So I'm going to just, you know, make for you a French press as we take a break. You also take a moment to just make a French press for yourself. And we're going to take a coffee break. And the Creative Industry Talk will be right back after this break.
Actually, my editor told me, Jeremy, there is no way you can call your book Man on Top. And I said, no. I'm actually going to call it Man on Top because I think I can sell it. Okay, I think I can sell it. And so the first task for me was to define Man on Top away from the definition it already has.
That we already know.
Yes. So for me, a man on top is a man that is faithful, dependable, and responsible. So I began a campaign about saying you're a man on top. You're faithful, you're responsible, you're productive. So every man has within them a desire to be those three things. To be faithful, to be productive, and to be responsible. So every person who thought they were faithful, responsible, and productive said to call themselves a man on top. You see, that was the idea in terms of the title. The cover really was purely about getting people to pick up the book, especially the ladies. I think it worked.
People at the moment are struggling to understand the older generation because times have changed. Technology has come in.
They've moved on.
Yes.
We're the ones sitting back and wondering, what is my child on to? TikTok has surpassed WhatsApp. The other one I call, I never call it Facebook, it's Bookface. Why are you on Bookface? Dad, it's Facebook.
Yes.
Me, I keep saying I have a foot amongst the millennials. And I understand the traditionalists.
Okay.
There's a song in the 60s, by the way, and in the 90s, 70s, where they're like, parents don't understand. Remember Prince? Prince.
Welcome back to the Creative Industry Talk. My name is Eddie Okela and this is House of Talent Television. Of course, we're talking to David Anderson Onyango from Oracle Furniture Limited. You know, a Ugandan, authentic Ugandan outfit making furniture for people's beautiful homes, beautiful furnitures, beautiful people. And you can go there and create your own. And he's earned himself the right to be on the Creative Industry Talk because some of the things in the studio where we're seated today is actually done by David and his people. The first time I met these guys, I went into their workshop, sat there and decided I have something I need them to do for us. And so I like to, work with creative people, creative Ugandans, young people, whether young or old. I want to bring them together. I love to bring the best out of people. So I decided to give them the opportunity to be able to build a woodwork and to build a studio with me, and we did this together. David, welcome back to the program. And we want to talk about it. So this studio here is built by you guys. The woodwork in this studio built by you guys. We gave you guys a recommendation, and we've got a fantastic review coming back from Legal Hub that they're very happy with their studio. You were never traditionally doing studios. You didn't even do them. We open up the door for you. How does that make you feel like when somebody takes you away completely from making chairs and beds and the living room furniture to now building TV studios and radio studios and audio studios? How does that make you feel like?
Seriously, it is a very good experience. When I'll begin from your items here, the studio work. When we first produced them, everyone was stopping at the workshop. So what is this? Is this for decoration? So it was a totally new thing to us, to the viewers, to the people that pass by, other customers. We actually, before we got, after doing your studio work, before we got a second recommendation from you people, we did these items for a few other people. Others wanted them for decoration. Pastors wanted them in churches. I want it at the pulpit. I want this. And they didn't know why we were doing them, but they looked beautiful. It was even more fascinating for us who knew why we had done them in the first place. And they are yes. So it is really, really great. And since we did decide to embrace custom woodworking as a trade, we are always comfortable with this. Someone can come in. We have a rule at my workplace with and me and my guys that even if you came in and told us you want a wooden Range Rover, we would ask for a year. But we would make it.
All right. And then of course, so you see the beautiful work here at House of Talent made by these guys. David, we want to dive into the last part of the show, which is about, understanding the local content. We're talking about, local content development in Uganda. Everybody's talking about it. The politicians are talking about it, but nobody actually really goes down to, the deep end dive into the local content. Nobody puts their mind to know how does it work. Nobody wants to talk to a carpenter to see how a carpenter is doing it. Do carpentry people make sense? We have many carpentry shops around or workshops around, but we don't give them opportunity to produce something beautiful. We want to be able to live by example, to say this is built by Ugandans, this is built by local people. When I go to the US or to Europe or to America or to the UK or to Asia, do it your way is the main thing. The skilling of people is done from that point that I am able to build my furniture from home. I was talking to a friend of mine in Germany and he said, man, I built every furniture in my house myself. He left Uganda, he had no skill at all. Our education didn't teach him that. And when he got there, he said it's more expensive to bring a carpenter to build something for you than when you build it for yourself. But they're willing to come and teach you how to do it, and you can do it by yourself. That I found that very fascinating. So a lot of us are talking about local content development, but we don't know. We're talking about build Uganda, buy Uganda, build Uganda. But the quality of what we're talking about, the quality of the production we're producing, the products we're producing to give to people is not worth, it cannot compete with the international, or imported products coming into Uganda. What is your say in that regard now that you have carved a niche in the market for you and your people? That we want to be people who bring out custom made. You have a crazy idea, bring the crazy idea to us, we will bring it to a reality.
Well, in my own point of view, and based on my experiences so far, in my time in woodwork, I think as Ugandans, we would be more, even right now, our pieces, the items, our ability to produce things, if we concentrate, is fascinating. it is something so great to see someone get out a stump of wood and then produce something extraordinary for you. You can do it while the person is sitting there. And that is very fascinating. So if we can produce this good with these little resources, then I think what we need is the push of resources. I'll take you to a part that is absurd, basically, about in woodwork. The prices of power tools for us, the tools we actually need to produce these high quality pieces of wood, of furniture is immense here. And when I have platforms where I engage with carpenters from different parts. I have a subscription from a woodworking site called America's Guild, Woodworkers of America's Guild. And when you look at these people talking about their drill press, their circular saws, table saws, routers, they talk about very little prices, even when converted into our own prices here. Someone buys a router saw at let's say 300,000. That is their price converted to ours. And here is a quality router so that is durable is supposed to be at least 1.5.
Yeah.
So that is really the greatest setback. Remember, carpentry is a very hard business to pitch, because it's always dependent on other people.
Yeah.
It is easy for you to pitch a business if someone can easily understand it. But people don't understand the transition from wood to furniture. So it is hard to pitch, so you don't get people investing. And if you're willing to invest, then you may find yourself having capital to only buy 3 power tools, and they can't produce a piece of furniture. So I think that is our biggest challenge here. Otherwise, I've had a lot of foreigners coming in, even personally at my workshop, and then someone says, well, I didn't know we can have this kind of furniture here.
Yeah.
This is so good. I've seen young men that have gone as far as following up on the background of the trees they are going to use for furniture. So someone will give you a furniture piece and tell you that one was made from a tree that was 50 years old. And you know, these people have methods of measuring these things, the whites, and then they're going to prove it. It's 50 years old. And this is fascinating, how someone is able to explain a piece of furniture in their house back to the tree and how old it was. So this shows how our capability as Ugandan furniture creators, as young people. Actually, woodwork has been stormed by young people, and this is somehow a good thing, because you know how our brains work is. I would say personally, at my workshop, at our workshop, at Oracle Furniture, our oldest, our age gap is between 38 and 14. So we have people who are as young as 14 years, and our oldest person is 38. So you can see that we are between the range that is ready to risk, that is ready to experiment with new ideas, to think outside the box. And that gives us an edge. And this is what, as Ugandans, not only in carpentry, but in any other trade, we are supposed to embrace. If someone is willing to risk, and they are positively sure that their risk is going to produce something great, you need to trust them a bit. You need to give them a bit of a gap to experiment.
So in other words, you're saying that we must be able to allow people room to express themselves.
Exactly.
And when they have something new, we should be able to give them opportunity and a platform for them to, express themselves and to do it. David, let's go straight to your workplace. Earlier on when we started the show, you were talking about how you guys started and the motivations, and how you walked through in the first place. I want to just put a few pictures up to actually show you that these guys, talk about things that they are doing. That's right there. Is that you and David? And that's the workshop and how it all started?
Yeah, this is how we started.
Yes.
And actually this was our first big addition, the metal structure.
Yes.
After we started, we were in a tarpaulin, in a small tent, where when it rains we would cover ourselves with our working tools under the tarpaulin.
Okay, and yes, so is that the whole business creative idea starting there of the workshop itself.
Yes, now that is, we are creating our first structure of a house. After hitting one big job, I think, and we are sitting down now. We have to begin looking at protecting our materials, but also creating something someone can look at.
Yeah. Okay. And so when you are sitting with your young people and you're all coming with ideas, were your business ideas written down, or was it just there in people's heads that you sit down there and, you know, jazz about these things and make it a reality, or you actually wrote a proper business plan and said, this is how we're going to do it? Again, there you are.
Well, I think the business plan is something we've written way deep into the business.
Yes.
That's when we decided, oh, this could become something greater. At first, we got into this whole idea as people seeking to earn a living. Young people who cannot steal, we cannot do any of these immoral things. We've been brought up in a way that it's not a choice for us. So we have one choice, is to sweat. And we had one person who had the audacity to know, who had gotten time to learn this. So he was like, yeah, he knew how to make these things. He didn't know any other thing.
That's all he knows.
He knew how to make these things.
So did he grow up in the Jesus' time, because Jesus was born a carpenter, or what happened?
Actually, he ran into, he took on apprenticeship.
Yeah.
We were younger. That is our elder brother.
Yeah.
Actually, we are a partnership of 3 brothers in the workshop, and each has a specific skill.
Okay.
But the biggest was the skilled man. So first of all, he comes in, we respect him, and we've seen some of his works. After learning, he did a few things for family members. The feedback was good.
Okay.
But now, it was now a new era coming in, online marketing, social media. So, but I told him, but we can get some few customers from online, I think. He said, well, if you can, I am here to work.
Yes.
I got him one. I remember my first online customer was a doctor from Novik. I posted a small, it was a wardrobe?
Yeah.
On Facebook, and he liked it. He said, can I order? I said, you can definitely order. And I really welcomed him. I loved it. I remember myself pacing to Novik and back, to Novik and back, showing him the processes. And then I told Ronnie, this is our first deal. And
Go on.
And when we produced his wardrobe,
he
was very happy. He was very happy. We never got any other customer from him, not a recommendation, but it was enough push for us to know that now the market is not from someone who can see you, especially since we were working from home. So we went online, and that's where we started.
Okay.
Yeah, we started from there.
Well, David, I want to read a couple of comments from here. Somebody saying, Eddie Okela, thank you very much for bringing that gentleman on the show. I'm very interesting, and this is fascinating to see young people actually involve themselves in making, furnitures that are very, that can compete with some international product. I have a problem of quality. Most Ugandan carpentry people or people in carpentry business usually don't pay attention to details, and the quality is always wanting. Can you ask David, how are they doing it? Have they improved? Well, I think that we can ask David by putting some of the pictures up. We can see. Let's put up some of the pictures from Arc Furniture up there so that people can see. So right there, let's talk to this. David, the process of making this chair, somebody's asking if you now improve attention to details. Yes. I guess it's talking about the cushions and the stuff like that, the fitting and stuff like that. Do you have other people who do this work?
Exactly. One thing that is tying the furniture industry back is the fact that you find one person wanting to do everything. So you always need that person that can cite who can do what best and let everyone specialize. Furniture is a very, very broad. It's a broad spectrum of work. So you cannot do it all well.
Actually, hold it there. So that right there, that was my table. So I walked to these guys and I gave them a huge challenge, and I said, I want you guys to make a 6-seater dining table for my house. And they made that table. I remember that table was rejected and it caused some serious problems. David, so how did you ever improve this table? Because the chairs are there, But the table, we didn't like them. You know, because of you guys became too creative in putting the lines which I didn't want and stuff like that. That's another problem. Perhaps the other gentleman is talking about. How do you, you know, make sure you understand the client beyond just what they have told you and your creativity?
Well, I think particularly from that particular job,
yes,
we were now trying to experiment with people who are more attentive to detail.
Yes.
People who actually know their furniture.
So was I a difficult client?
You were difficult at that time. But,
yes.
But I think you were difficult, but then, you know, every challenge comes with it a step for you to step higher.
Yes.
So from there on, I knew if you're ordering a table, and I think I did it on the second one, what do you want? What don't you want?
Okay.
Can I add this? Can I add this? Can I add this? So
there you have it. The table was changed. Is now right there. Isn't that beautiful, people? Do you have a furniture? So that's a table in my house done by these guys and looks beautiful. Let's check the next picture and see. We did the chairs and somehow it was right there. So how does this make you feel when you finished and delivered something like this to somebody's home? Of course, I have issues with the cushions, which is the person was asking. The attention to details, the one who did the cushion wasn't. So yeah, that's my house. I like to make sure that you know, my things are done by Ugandans. So that's not an imported wood, just so you know. It's a wood created by these guys, and you can go into their workshop and give them business. Let's see another picture. And that it look like, yeah, right there. So they had improved the attention to details, as you can see, you know. And I went for something called ironwood. You want to explain what ironwood is? I gave them some bloody nose, as they call it in Uganda. It was a difficult thing for them to. Yes, David, pick it up from there. Yes.
Well, ironwood, actually, I think among all our customers, Eddie, you are the only person that has ironwood.
Yeah.
And even if you move this country again,
yes.
maybe you would find someone else from Sudan. This is ironwood particularly. This is a wood type from Sudan, from Central Sudan, from the Central Sudan forests mostly. It is a very hard piece of wood. It is too hard that even working it, you need to know it. And it's mostly worked by people from the north because they have access from it. To eat, so they have gotten time to experiment with it. In the central here, it is very hard because even the materials we have here, like the wood glue and everything, will not work with it. We actually had to order a specific amount of a specific type of glue called. Well, I'm forgetting the name.
Last time I interacted with that wood, I was out of Uganda, and I found out that some of the furniture in White House in the US is made by some of the finest woodwork from, you know, Sudan and, you know, this place is called Congo. And you too can actually make sure you get something that you love and you can be part of. And I want to stretch this point to so many people out there that when you dream of having a furniture in your house, you need to be able to put that picture up again so I can explain it to people, you know, something that people don't understand. When you have a dream, we all dream of something cool and beautiful that we want to have. And you can set up the target and take your time, but you must find people who are able to do it. That type of wood is what is used in White House. If you look at the White House and, you know, many of these state house, you know, particularly in Europe, they have some very exquisite taste for wood. I mean, President Putin, for example, his wood in his in the state house, if we call it, or you know, the Russia house, whatever we call it, is such an amazing taste of wood. Now, it's created by a carpenter. So when I walked out there and I interacted with some of these things, one time I was in Dominican Republic, and I went to a house, one of those training I do, and I saw some certain type of wood. That's when I interacted with some of the most beautiful wood, and I said, one day we will have this. So yes, it's something that I want people to understand, that you can have your own dream, and your dream can be brought to a reality, and your dream can live. So it's not just any type of wood. David can tell you, the first time I gave it to them, it was very difficult to deal with. And I wanted to share that experience. Was I a crazy customer to you guys when we first started?
Well, unfortunately, I will say yes.
Yes.
Because when you talked about, well, I want ironwood. I went to the procurement guy and told him, you know what, Ronnie, that is my big brother, by the way.
Yes.
We need ironwood. Yes. He said, what is that? I said, no, there is ironwood. So he goes to Industrial where we purchase this wood. He tried to call every wood person he knows, asking for ironwood, and they told him, unless you're looking for ebony, which you're also not going to get, there's nothing like ironwood. I said, but no. I went online. I gave him pictures of ironwood. So now he goes with a picture. I want this type of wood. And it was lucky for us, that lucky for Eddie too, that we came across someone who had a full warehouse of ironwood.
You could tell them the story of how long that wood has been there.
He had a full warehouse of ironwood. This was a foreigner. This guy was Indian. I don't know if the warehouse had been captured in the 76 war that took off Amin.
Yes.
Then it had been kept locked for all this time, and this wood had been purchased with the intention of using it to make lorry bottoms.
Yes.
That is the wood that you find in the lorry bottoms.
Yeah.
Because it even if you dipped it in water for a year, it will not react. It will not break. It will not dissolve. It won't even lose color. So that was ironwood. We find a full warehouse of ironwood and mahogany, and Ronnie says, well, there's a warehouse here. I said, let's go and look at it. And when I first had this, the wood had of course withered a bit, that you could not identify it from the top. I told him, no, let's go with our plane and let's plane one piece. And the beauty of it was excess. Actually, I think besides Eddie, I too have ironwood in my house.
Yes.
Because it was superb. It was something good. We first of all bought a section of the wood in the warehouse, but we ended up buying everything.
Yeah.
We bought everything. We had a sales agreement with this guy, and I told him, if you sell one piece, you're going to court.
And 90% of that wood is at House of Talent.
Exactly.
So again, I want to just make everybody understand that it is possible. We're talking about Buy Uganda, Build Uganda. Just put it up there. We're talking about Ugandan-made furniture. Can you make it possible? Can Ugandans do it? So when we're talking about local content development, focusing on Ugandan-made furniture in this particular show today, we want you to know that buy from these guys, go to these guys and give them opportunity. These guys on Facebook, write to them, give them an order, and they'll be able to produce something very good for you. A lot of us are talking about these things. If you're a carpenter out there, send us a message, show us what you're having, and we'll definitely be able to bring this to you. IKEA has or makes the best type of woods and creativity in the whole world. All of us dream of buying IKEA, but do we have the money to buy IKEA? Do our earnings take us there? Can we reach there? If not, then it's something that we need to be able to think about the alternative, and these guys do much better job. David, we've got to bring this show to a close. Let's go back to your workshop and finalize some of the take us through the process of creativity that some of these furniture go through, so that somebody who's looking for what's that. For example, I see you fitting in a house. So do you custom made fitting? When you're talking about custom made fitting in a house, is that a new house?
Yes, that is a new house. We were on site in Imbarara. One of our customers, from a recommendation, he's a Kano,
okay.
Kano Baguma. Okay. I'll mention. So he gave us his whole house to furnish it. We first of all did his door work, door frames and everything. We shut the house. Then he said, I want now items. We have an album.
That's the door woodwork you're talking about?
Yes. Those were some of his doors. So we first of all have an album. We give you options. Then you pick your options, and then we produce what you choose.
Okay.
You can even alter some of these options. I want this, but we are going to change this to this. So when we create this for you, then we come on site and fit it ourselves, because the fitting determines everything. If it's even if it's good and the fitting is wrong, it won't come out.
Okay, let's check on the next picture up there. The next picture, if you put the next picture up there, you were attempting to make this was your first creation. Okay, let's talk about this. That's David Anderson Onyango up there, you know. So what was the story behind this desk? We see this thing on Pinterest. We don't know how it is made, but you guys are making up a table, yeah? Huh?
So that was our first attempt at a picnic, a folding picnic table.
Yes.
We get this customer, guy is Indian.
That guy right there is a law student. Who is into carpenter? Continue.
Guy is Indian. He says, I want a picnic table that folds. Yes. He sent us a video from Pinterest, of course.
Yes.
So he's like, but you people can't make this. I know. You just make one that is static. So I told him, if I make this and it folds, we are doubling the cost. He says, well, as long as it does what I want, I'm going to pay.
Yeah.
So the initial cost was supposed to be 800,000 for one that doesn't fold. So he's like, oh, I told him it won't be 1.6. It will become 2 point something. He says, as long as I get this thing and it folds. He has a smaller compound, but he wants to be able to expand it when he has